Live from the Coors Light Studios, it's time for the Rip City Drive, hosted by the crazy and often irrational Chad Doing. Coors Light, mountain cold refreshment. Choose chill.
Play fake, drop the Jags blitz. He hit him, the ball's out! The ball is out! They knocked it out of there! Jacksonville trying to jump on top of it! No signal yet!
That's the Jaguars' ball.
The Jags have it! They created yet another turnover, and they got the ball away from the 49ers!
53-yarder, high snap, placement made, kick to the uprights, and it is good! It is good! We are going to overtime, tied at 37. Matt Orzik on the snap. Daniel Whelan down on one knee, snap, placement, kick to the uprights, and it is good! And the game ends in a tie.
End of the ball game.
A hard-fought overtime affair ends in a tie at 40.
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Chad Doing starts now.
All right, what an awesome show. Really looking forward to today because we have a lot of things to cover. A lot of college football and Trailblazer Media Day. I've got the principal, Curtis Long, hanging out with me. He is fresh off his trip to Moda Center where we all were at. Shacker, Burkhart, Brendan, everybody. What's up, brother?
Oh, just let this bumper music continue. I didn't know you were going to start with this.
I didn't know Shacker was going to go Private Eyes, but the best part is I ran into you at a concert up in the Clark County Fairgrounds years ago. I hadn't seen Curtis in a while. We had no Private Eyes?
Yeah, how do they do a whole concert, no private eyes?
What's up with that? And then he walked off. No Private Eyes?
Yeah, how do they do a whole concert, no private eyes?
What's up with that? And then he walked off. And that was the conversation. It's like, come on, man.
That's all I had to say to you. I don't care that I hadn't seen you in a while. No private eyes. I'm a little ticked off. I'm out of here.
Yeah, that was so good. So principal's here. Chris Burkhart is here. He's going to join us in studio during the 4 o'clock hour. He is busy working his ass off right now, putting stuff together from Trailblazer Media Day. And so here's what we got planned. We're going to talk college football and everything I hyped up last week. All the games, all the excitement. I mean, it paid off in tenfold, starting on Friday night with Florida State, Virginia, into the ASU-TCU game, which was awesome, and then the unbelievable meltdown by the Beavs, right into Saturday morning with USC and Illinois, and it kicked off a phenomenal weekend of football. And we had some great NFL games, so we're going to talk a lot of football. The Duck win was phenomenal. Trent Bray, Oregon State head coach, is going to join the show at 5:20, and then in the middle of all the football talk, we're going to sprinkle in a lot of different audio and comments from Media Day. So that is the plan. If you want to jump on board, telephone number 503-248-0620. If you want to join us via YouTube, just go to youtube.com, pull up our homepage, Rip City Radio 620. Be sure to like and subscribe to the page. You can follow all of our shows there and check out the live stream. And, of course, you can always podcast and listen live via our free iHeartRadio app, which is also your place to listen to all of the Trailblazer games. 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. Trent Bray at 5:20. Chris Burkhart will be in studio with Curtis and I for the 4 o'clock hour. And then we want to hear from you, 503-248-0620. We'll get to some Media Day stuff here in a bit. But I've got to be honest with you, that Oregon-Penn State game, you get excited about it. It was the top-billed game of the weekend, and it paid off. That fourth quarter and overtime was sensational. As a Duck grad, what was your reaction as it unfolded throughout the afternoon?
Unbelievable as that was happening because, game day goes in all white. So you're figuring this is going to be a tremendous atmosphere. I've never been to Penn State. I haven't been to Beaver Stadium. You could see from the TV, though, what a remarkable sight that is, how loud that was, what an atmosphere that was for the visitors. And the Ducks just came out calm, composed, did what they needed to do, marched the ball down the field, and I had a little trouble punching it into the end zone. But under pressure, how about Dante Moore that whole game as a sophomore coming in there and doing what he needed to do, calm the entire time. And as Dan Lanning said after the game, I think we have the best college football quarterback in the nation.
And he might be.
He
legitimately might be the best quarterback.
He now has the leading odds for the Heisman Trophy, 7-1 right now.
248 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no picks for Dante Moore. Everything that I laid out before the game in terms of what I thought needed to happen, it happened for the Ducks. One, they, for the most part throughout the game, until some parts of the fourth quarter, they controlled first and second down. That defensive line was up for the challenge against that great offensive line of Penn State. So what they did was put Drew Aller in obvious pass situations. I didn't think he'd be able to get the job done, and he didn't. He passed for $137. had 2 touchdowns and a pick. But I thought the defense is what set the tone. And early on in that game, it had a Penn State-type feel to it. Low scoring. Offenses had a difficult time finding their way. But Oregon's defense rising up to the occasion in that environment, that was, to me, that's big boy football. That's how you do it. That's how you win a championship, is to be able to go on the road and control the line of scrimmage, and they did it.
Yeah, from the opening snap, and they had Penn State behind the sticks on first down, behind the sticks on second down, put them in third and long. That's exactly what you want to do against Drew Aller. Make him pass on third down. He just couldn't do it. He looked scared to death from about the first sequence on. You could tell the look on his face. And another thing, how about the chain that he's wearing? What are you doing? You're wearing a chain as the quarterback there.
Yeah.
So it was fun to watch the Ducks just really, really do a job on that front seven.
I thought Dante Moore, I saw him play at UCLA. I've seen him play early in the season with the Ducks, but what I enjoyed was just the composure. The moment didn't look too big for him. He didn't make the big mistake. He played under control. He used his legs when necessary, and he was on schedule and on target with the offense, which was terrific. So I really walked away from that game thinking, wow, he is sensational. And I thought at the beginning of the year, like, he might be more dynamic than what they had in Bo Nix and Dylan Gabriel. And I don't doubt that at all now. And what I learned from that game is that he's ready for the moment. Like, there's no way a teammate has any doubts that Dante Moore can lead them to where they want to be.
And what I love most about him, he doesn't force anything. He never forced anything. He found himself in trouble a couple of times. He dodged around in the pocket. He'll throw it out of bounds. He knows exactly what he's doing and where he needs to be. He's just learned a lot. You can tell he learned a lot by sitting off to the side and watching Dylan Gabriel last year, learning how to operate that offense. And he was so poised the entire time. 29 of 39 for 248, 3 touchdowns. And another thing that people forget, look who's starring for the Ducks this year. De'Aaron Hill, freshman. Receiving, freshman. It's hard to believe, but, DeCorian Moore, freshman. So you got more. The Andrea True connection. You know what that is. And more. Some young players really stepping up for the Ducks.
And it's great you mentioned that, because one of the big concerns going into the year for the Ducks, from the majority of experts that I talked to, was the youth at receiver. No one really knew what to expect. They knew they had talent, but those guys hadn't proved it yet. And so far, throughout the course of the season, up to this point, they've looked really comfortable, and they got big play capabilities.
How about that catch by DeCorian Moore down the stretch when Dante Moore avoided the sack and he held onto it out in front of him and secured the ball as he's going down? That looks like a senior. That's a true freshman down the sideline in Beaver Stadium, 111,000 people, and he makes that grab.
The other thing that's great about the win is that, like, Penn State was preparing for that game for basically a year. That was a statement game for them. It was a chance for James Franklin to get off the schneid, and Oregon goes in there on the wideout and just beats them, basically in all facets of the game.
And Penn State had an extra week to prepare. Coming off a bye, they had an extra week to prepare for the Ducks. I was just impressed by as much Oregon football as I've watched for 25-plus years, how poised they were coming into that environment.
Yeah.
They never looked rattled. They never looked panicked at all. They continued to play their game up and down the field the whole time.
Yeah, it was terrific. And now the stats are undeniable. James Franklin, 1-15.
Yeah.
1-15 against teams in the top 5.
Unbelievable.
Like if he's coaching at Michigan or Ohio State, like, that will get you fired. But 1-15. And I like James Franklin, good recruiter. Seems like a good guy. Unfortunately, Burkhardt and I were talking about this after the game, where he actually did a great job in that game too. He coached his tail off. That late drive in the fourth, when they got the touchdown to even up the game, and they only left 30 seconds on the clock, like, that was mastery. But they come up short again. He's now 1-15. And so, what do we know about James Franklin and Penn State? They're overrated because they don't win the big games on their schedule. Last year, they lost to Oregon, and the other big game, which they got at home, Ohio State. When they got to the playoff, they beat SMU and Boise. That doesn't count. And then when they got in the big moment against Notre Dame, they dropped that game as well. They don't win big games under James Franklin, and Oregon was able to go in there and take care of business. And now, aside from the game at Iowa and a game at Washington, the pathway looks pretty clear for the collision course they're on with Ohio State, which would make for a phenomenal Big Ten title game.
Yeah, they could potentially go 2 seasons in a row without losing a Big Ten regular season game.
Yeah.
2 seasons in a row. Now, Indiana at home, we just got word that's going to be a 12:30 game.
Epic.
A week from this Saturday, so they do have a bye going into that one.
And Indiana's good. That's a legit football team.
Indiana is a good team, and that'll be a top 10 matchup once again. So, like you said, Chad, though, at Iowa, at the Huskies.
Yeah.
The Huskies didn't score a touchdown for the first time in a long time against Ohio State. So Ohio State, their defense is legit, but where Washington can't score a touchdown, that's a good sign for the Ducks.
Yeah. So we'll see how it plays out. The other thing that was impressive, Indiana deserves credit because they had blown out Illinois, put up over 60 burger on them. And then they have to travel on the road after the blowout win and take on Iowa, who's a great defensive team, and they kind of pull you into the mud, and you're forced to play their style. That was a tough, tough win. So I've got to give credit to Coach Signetti. He's done a heck of a job.
Google him.
Yeah, Google him. He wins. And so now we'll get that matchup at Autzen. And, if you would have told me that before the year that Indiana and Oregon would be a monster game, mid-season, I'd be like, get the bleep out of here. But it is. Big
Top
game.
10 matchup, 12:30 CBS.
Gosh,
a couple of
was
weeks
good.
from now.
That
Now,
was
if you're a Penn State fan, what are you thinking now? You've lost to Oregon. You got back-to-back Ohio State and Indiana coming up on your schedule.
Yeah.
You're likely not going to make the Big Ten title game.
No, but you'll still make the playoff.
You'll make the playoff, but then you're going to play a higher-seeded team. And if you're out again in the first round of the playoff to a higher-seeded team, that's bad news.
It is. Yeah, that's going to be the difference this year. Penn State was the beneficiary of, the seeding and the way that played out last year. But now with the way they're going to seed the playoff, you can't hide by playing one of the bums. So
No.
Penn State will have to play a better team, and it'll be another opportunity for them to step up in a big game. But their next big game is going to be that road game at Ohio State. We'll see what they can do. Go into Ohio State and you win that game, it changes the narrative on you. But right now, he's got the label of can't win the big game, and until that changes, that's what we're going to assume is going to take place.
Yeah, that's what we're going to see. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out for the Nittany Lions. But what a game. What an afternoon as Duck fans watching that game.
And think about Dan Lanning's improvements, too. He made some questionable calls in games earlier in his Oregon run, especially against Washington. But now as the time has gone on, he's getting better. He's learning on the job, just like a lot of these new coaches are, where he's getting better year to year. And you see the improvements. He's obviously a terrific motivator. And I loved his message all week of play the game, not the occasion.
Yep. Play the game, not the occasion.
Yeah, we're going into a great stadium that's going to be whited out, but play the game, not the occasion. And I think that's a great message to keep it simple for the young guys on the squad.
Were you surprised down the stretch 10-7? They've got a 4th and 2. They got a chance to put 3 points on the board, go up 6. And of course, everyone knows Dan Lanning's going to go for the points there, and he does, and he gets them. I was kind of surprised there but knowing Dan Lanning, I'm kind of not surprised that he went for it there.
Well, I think in that situation, he's probably thinking field goals aren't going to win this game for us, and so we're going to be aggressive. And it reminds me of Dan Campbell, where Dan Campbell with Detroit and the Lions. If you want to be aggressive and that's your MO, then be that coach. But don't waffle.
He believes in his guys. He believes in his guys, and he shows them that. Believes in his guys. He believes in his guys, and he shows them that. Good tune again.
Yeah,
Shacker.
Fresh from Cool in the Gang, and we were having a discussion about what they mean by fresh. And Shacker and I came to the conclusion, mostly Shacker, that it's probably referring to a new lady in town, like we got some fresh opportunities. I don't want to say fresh meat because that sounds
you don't
bad.
Want to say that. Had a fresh opportunity for a new date.
New date. This is a great tune.
This is God. They've got some great. Is this off the Emergency album with Misled?
Misled's a great
Emergency.
song. Emergency's great. Yeah, she's so inviting, Curtis. All right, we'll keep things rolling. If you got thoughts on the Ducks, 503-248-0620. Now, the Blazers could have a new look on offense. And what about defense and calculus? None of that makes sense to me, but maybe Curtis can sort that out for us, according to head coach Chauncey Billups. You got the Rip City Drive on your home for the Blazers, 620, Rip City Radio. What do you think about this principal? A little David Lee Roth solo activity.
Oh, I think Shacker knows that I'm going to be here. He pulls out these classics. Here we go, right here, going crazy.
I remember when he did Yankee Rose on American Bandstand, and he had like one strip that was covering up his beehole, and they put a block over it and said censored. You know, that's when I learned about censorship.
Yep.
Yankee and I'm thankful for that.
Crazy from the heat.
All right, Curtis Long in studio. The principal's here. Chris Burkhart's here. He's going to join us for the 4 o'clock hours. We continue to talk about college football, the NFL, and Blazer Media Day, which was today at Moda Center. You're going to hear my conversation with Dame a little bit later in the show. Telephone number 503-248-0620. You can jump on board right now. But we want to start with Jeremy Grant, one of the gentlemen that you had a chance to cover at Media Day, Curtis. And, he's asking a very direct question because I've thought, I'm one of those guys that thought going into the year, it's like, well, Jeremy Grant better get used to the bench because you'll have Scoot, Shaden, Klingon, along with Denny and Tamani at forward together. Like, you need Denny and Tamani on the floor together because that's when the Blazers are at their best. And so here's the conversation with Grant about whether or not he's going to start, what he expects, and here's how the questioning went.
Have you considered a role where you would have to not start games here, or is that not something you've thought about?
Nah, I don't really expect that. So.
Do you feel like there's room for you, Tamani, Denny, all as part of the starting lineup together?
Yeah, I think we all are versatile. I think we all can play multiple positions. Yeah, I do.
All right, there's Jeremy Grant. Based on that,
the Trailblazer management already, but he was the most forthcoming of all with the Trailblazer management already. But he was the most forthcoming of all of them. At Media Day, as you know, Chad, most of the players are, great to see all of you. They answer their questions, and they head on right out the door. Jeremy Grant was very upfront and ready to answer those questions and very direct with his answer. No, I don't expect that. And, yes, I do feel like we can work together. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Now, what kind of role did Scoot's injury have in that? Maybe a little bit. So now they'll go with Drew at the point guard. And likely Denny at the 2, I would think. So then you have Klingon, Kamara, and round out the starting lineup that way with Jeremy Grant.
Yeah, based on his response, he's going to start. And that means Shaden Sharp will come off the bench. Now, one thing we all thought is that Jeremy Grant would be one of those big targets on the roster to possibly be moved during the course of the offseason. Apparently, he was under the same impression. Take a listen to this.
You've spoken about that frustration a little bit. Just after you left your exit interview last year, did you think you would be back here again this year?
Probably not. I definitely didn't, but I'm happy that I'm here right now. The way the team is structured and everything, the changes that were made, I think it's beneficial for me and for our team. So.
And credit Brenna Green of Coin 6 for answering that question. Right before that, Jeremy had said something about, there were times last year when I didn't know if we were winning or losing or what we were doing out there. And I think that's what led to the frustration for him. So he is excited to be back and says that this team is focused on winning, and that's what he's here for.
Like, that's amazing. He pretty much answered that. He didn't dodge that question at all?
Nope.
It's like, yeah, no, I did not expect to be here at all. Like, I did not expect it, and I respect that. Now, Shaden Sharp was asked about starting. And
you expect to be a starter this year?
I don't expect anything, really. I just expect for me to come in and help this team, whether that's, coming off the bench or starting. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm just going to come out and do what I got to do to help this team.
Okay, so just based off of listening to those two clips, I read that very simply as Jeremy Grant knows that he's going to start. And Shaden Sharp obviously knows that he's going to be coming off the bench.
Yeah.
But that's okay because Shaden Sharp's one of those guys where I'm sure he wants to start. Most players do, and that's fine. But when he comes off the bench, he's still going to play big minutes, and he'll be involved in crunch time situations.
Yeah, and he's in a lot of times going against the other team's backup. So that'll be good for Shaden Sharp to be able to shine in that second unit, at least for a while, and then we'll see what happens as the season goes along.
Very interesting. All right. So Jeremy Grant, one last thing from Jeremy, just I guess mental state. How would you describe this clip?
Well, he talks about a chance to kind of regroup over the summer. What's your mental state coming into this season?
I think we
had a chance to kind of regroup over the summer. What's your mental state coming into this season?
I think we took some strides to get better, especially this offseason, getting Drew, Dame back. I think I'm excited. I think we're definitely moving in the right direction. I think everybody's goal is the same now. I think we're moving towards winning. So I'm excited about it.
A lot of talk about defense being your guys' identity. What do you think is the ceiling of this team's defense? How good can it be? And what does that look like? What is when you guys are clicking on defense? What do you think that's going to look like?
I think we can be a top defensive team in the league. We had a ton of length. We have a ton of physicality. A lot of guys who can shut their man down, one-on-one defense, and a lot of smart players, a lot of defensive awareness on the court. So I think we can be a top defensive team in the league. We just got to make sure that is our identity, like we're saying. So.
All right, there's Jeremy Grant. He sounds like he's in a good spot.
Grant in a game past mid-March in a couple of seasons? I don't remember Jeremy Grant in a game past mid-March in a couple of seasons? I don't remember him playing past around spring break time at least the last couple of seasons. He's been shut down or injured.
Yeah, he and the vets have been caught up in this cycle of losing. Because the team was, they had different priorities in terms of wanting to acquire talent to improve the roster. But now this is that first year, that first taste of the team now starting to move in a different direction where they're going to focus on trying to win games.
Yeah, with Drew Holiday in the mix now, someone who's here brought in to help win games. I think that's really kind of revitalized Jeremy Grant.
All right, Chauncey Billups had a lot of good things to say. I caught up with him one-on-one as well, but new coaches on his staff.
Yeah, new coaches on his staff. He was asked about that. Now, you prided yourself last year. I think it was Jason Quick who mentioned it, or Mike Richmond, one of the Blazer writers, mentioned your defense took a big step forward, got lots of step forward in the second half of the season.
Yeah,
Roy Rogers
5.
was in charge of that defense, but Roy Rogers is no longer with the team. Why did you just choose to make some coaching decisions in an area where you were growing? And I like Chauncey's response, and he kind of makes a comparison to, well, you'll hear it, to school time and learning math.
It's tough to say this without people taking it crazy, but, you get to a point in the rebuild where, I said this along both sides of the ball. We're pretty much doing arithmetic. We're doing it pretty good. And then you start to get to a point where I know I've gotten a ton better, and I see this thing differently. I know what I need more of, but we need to start doing a little algebra. And so you got to bring in some algebra teachers. And that's no slight to nobody. It just kind of is what it is, and it's a part of.
To the next level, and in order to do that, we need different coaches to come in to teach that. It's time to go to the next level, and in order to do that, we need different coaches to come in to teach that.
Yep.
Go to the next level, and in order to do that, we need different coaches to come in to teach that.
Yep. Though I think in his mind, we've gone as far as we can with this current coaching staff. They've gotten them to this level. I need to take them to an even higher level. And he even said, I need to be better in certain parts too. And in order to do that, we've got to hire coaches that are more qualified to do that. So that's what he's done. He's brought in some new defensive coaches. Roy Rogers not around anymore. Nate Bjorkman will still be around. So we'll see how that goes.
I like Coach Nate. And also he had a chance to expand on one of those guys, Tiago Splitter, former San Antonio Spur.
Yeah, and that was a great question that the Godfather asked about bringing in Tiago Splitter and why bring him in. And that was kind of the focus that I did not anticipate. A lot of questions about a new offense. So not as many pick and rolls anymore. You won't see the Blazers in as many pick and rolls, much more of a motion offense. And we'll hear throughout the show today some of the players really excited about that. Matisse Thybulle commented, we'll hear him a little bit later on about, players like me who are more defensive minded, we often found ourselves stuck in a corner somewhere, not touching the ball. In this offense, that won't happen. You're always moving around, moving around. Some of the players even described it as random, the way the offense is going to work. So it'll be interesting to see how that looks out on the floor, because we're so used to that high pick and roll all the time and other people standing around and watching whatever's going to happen at the top of the key. Now, a lot more motion offense. It'll be interesting to see how that works with Tiago Splitter's offense.
I added Tiago Splitter to our step parade, watches practice, watches games. And I really do believe that our parade watches practice, watches games. And I really do believe that, I just talked about, I thought us establishing our defensive identity last year was the biggest part of the season. I think this year we have to start establishing who we're going to be offensively. And a couple of my hires reflect that. You know, Tiago and Patrick St. Andrews, who was in Memphis last year and who was under Taylor Jenkins the last few years. What I want to do with our offense, those two guys have done it. You know, so Tiago was great. You know, his offense was really potent over there in Paris, and they played really fast. They got up and down. They tried to play before defenses got set. He had a really good point guard that kind of was the MVP of the league, obviously. So he done a really good job. And so yeah, I'm really, really excited about that and about our staff, and we've worked really hard to try to put together.
I hadn't heard that till today.
No, I did not know. I was so worried about defense.
A new offense? I hadn't heard that till today.
No, I did not know. I was so worried about defense and continuing the defensive success, I didn't even think about the offensive side.
So it'll be interesting to watch how that works, because we're used to seeing that high pick and roll all the time, and really kind of an isolation offense. According to Coach Billups and Tiago Splitter, the new assistant coach, there's going to be a lot more movement and a lot more free flowing. So that'll be fun to watch.
All right. Coach also talked about the center rotation. Take a listen.
He's right there in the mix. Obviously, DC, Rob, Hansen, DC, Hansen, Rob, Wap. I mean, we have four of them, and it just kind of depends on how they're all playing. You know, if Rob is healthy. Obviously, he's not really ready to go right now. I think Hansen's did a really good job, you know, these last couple months of just trying to get situated, you know, trying to understand what we're doing. He's definitely going to play.
All right, boom. There you go. Hansen
conference. Do you think Hansen will spend some time at the remix? And Cronin kind of dodged that and said, well, I'm not conference. Do you think Hansen will spend some time at the remix? And Cronin kind of dodged that and said, well, I'm not really sure. We haven't thought about it a whole lot. If there becomes a time where he's not getting a lot of reps, then yeah, maybe we'll send him down for a couple of weeks. But Coach Billups said, no, Hansen's right in there. And most of the players today, almost all of them were asked, probably toward the end of their interview, what do you think of Young Hansen? What's been your impression of him? And all of them, to a man, have said, very impressive for as young as he is, his footwork and the way he sees the floor and the way he picks up things. They were saying that they can chew him out, that he's been chewed out by coaches or other players. They'll chew him out for two minutes. They don't know if he understood a word of it. But sure enough, the next play, he does exactly what they asked him to do. So he's picking things up.
Gosh, that's so good. Final thing from Chauncey, he talked about the team identity.
Yeah, is it offense or is it defense? Which is it now? Let's hear what Chauncey says.
I don't think our offense is, has ever, at least since I've been here, been good enough to say that was our identity. You know, I think I've said in front of you guys for years now, telling y'all that I believe if we're going to be any good, we need to be defense first team. Last year, the best thing that came out of the season for me is that we finally established that. You know, in the second half of the season, we finally established our identity, and we'll look to get better with that. You know, you bring in a guy like Drew Holiday, who's been one of the best defenders really in this generation, and what he's able to do, how he's able to play, it just makes those things even better, So I'm really excited about where we are and what we're going to be able to do, in particular on the defensive end. The one area on the defensive end that we were really poor at is our defensive rebounding. That's going to be something that we have to be much better at. We'll focus on that right away because we play such great defense, and then, boom, the shot goes up, and then we don't get the ball. I mean, you got to play another 14 seconds of defense. It just wears you down. So we'll look to try to close out those defensive possessions, hopefully with a rebound.
And that was when we get an offensive rebound, so you got to start all over again. So really, that's going to be a focus this season. Drew Holiday, an offensive rebound, so you got to start all over again. So really, that's going to be a focus this season. Drew Holiday, good rebounding guard, so that'll help.
I'm excited about Drew. I had a chance to speak with him. I talked to Travis, who heard what he had to say, and for Drew Holiday, he really believes he has a lot to offer and contribute to this team. And he made it clear that he's not washed up.
No. And he was very clear that he was excited about the trade. A lot of people would think you're going from Boston to Portland, but he was very excited about it. He said, oh, yeah, I already knew some of these people from the first time that I was traded. So I was excited to rekindle those relationships because I already know some of these people and excited to be in Portland.
Yeah, I never bought into that whole idea that he was going to be unhappy here because that's not his MO. He's a true pros. So no matter where he ends up, he's going to show up and do his job.
Oh, and another thing brewing with Drew Holiday. So he was very clear when he came in. He's wearing number 5 on his jersey. He's never worn that number before. He came in and said, no, I've never worn that before. So some of the media members asked, well, why aren't you wearing number 11? And Drew Holiday said that I was told that number not available to me, which is interesting because Myers Leonard wore number 11. Bryce McGowan's wore it for a time last year. So I was talking a little bit with Mike Richmond in the back. We're thinking, who's the most famous Trailblazer to wear number 11? Arvydas Sabonis. Could there be some kind of tribute coming for Arvydas in the upcoming season where they don't want anyone wearing number 11? Just speculation, but Drew Holiday said, yeah, number 11 was not made available to me.
I'm okay with that. I love Arvydas. He's one of my favorite Trailblazers of all time. So if you've got to say no to Drew to pay respects to Arvydas, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, it's just interesting. But since Arvydas, obviously, there's been about 5 or 6 players that have worn that number. But according to Drew Holiday, number 11 was not available to him. So he's wearing number 5.
Are they going to honor Myers?
I don't know. They should. Yeah, Myers Leonard, whoever else wore number 11. Bryce McGowan's wore it for a little while.
I still remember the first time I saw Arvydas play. I was like, whoa, I've never seen a big man do those kind of things.
And look, you know the story about when we got him. I mean, he was a shell of himself of what he was in his prime in Europe.
Still productive.
Yeah, very productive.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. All right, Curtis Long is here. Chris Burkhardt is here. Chris is going to join us, and we'll have a little trio working in the 4 o'clock hour as we continue to break down all of the great college football. It was so awesome this weekend. I talked about the games all week. I'm like, here's why you need to watch all of these games.
I heard you. Yeah,
and
on Friday.
On Friday, it kicks off with the Virginia upset over Florida State, which went into overtime. Sensational football game. Then we get ASU and TCU. I love the Sun Devils. Sam Levitt from Westland out there balling out. They get down 17-0, and they come back and win the game 27-24. And then you get the Beavers in full control up 24-10 with just over 6 minutes to go. They lose the game in overtime. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. I have to admit, I fell asleep when they were up 24-10. I thought this game's over. I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
And I woke up and thought, what? They lost that game?
How'd they lose that game? And then you wake up on Saturday morning, and then USC, early kick time over on the East Coast, Illinois. And Illinois played a sensational game. That was exciting and awesome. Then I watched LSU and Ole Miss. That was terrific. And then you go into Oregon, Penn State, Alabama, and Georgia, and it's like, are you kidding me? And then on Sunday, we get more great football games. Yeah. Matthew Stafford with an 88-yard touchdown pass with about 2 minutes to go to win it, almost like a walk-off for the Rams against the Colts. Baker Mayfield battling the Eagles. Like, all these great things going on. I'm like, this is awesome.
Now, were you at Spirit Mountain? Do you have multiple TVs going at once?
Yeah, on Friday night, I was at Spirit Mountain.
Yeah.
And I'm watching all the games all at the same time. It was the greatest thing ever. And then yesterday, I was up at the Mariners game. Dodgers, Mariners, to see Kershaw's final start. He went 5 1/3, 4 hits, no runs, so he pitched really well. They pulled him from the game to give him a proper standing ovation. The fans in Seattle were terrific.
Oh, good.
And then they pulled Cal before the end of the game so he could get a little tip of the cap to the fans before the playoffs began. And so as I was sitting there in my seat, I'm watching the baseball game, and I've got my phone out because I'm watching Sunday Ticket. So it was like a sports mecca. I was just watching football and baseball all at the same time.
What a weekend for you. What a weekend for Chad Dewey.
It's a great weekend. All right, State proving that they are one of the best teams in the country and on a collision course for the Penn State. Proving that they are one of the best teams in the country and on a collision course for the Ohio State. Trent Bray's coming up at 5:20. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad Dewey on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio.
At center.
After the bye week, that's going to be a 12:30 kick on CBS. On October 11th, after the bye week, that's going to be a 12:30 kick on CBS. After Indiana, they're at Rutgers, who is a decent football team. So that's one they're going to have to keep an eye on because Rutgers has played well so far this year, and they gave Iowa a very tough run for their money a couple of weeks ago. Back home to take on Wisconsin, at Iowa. So I would circle that game. Home against Minnesota, home against USC, and at Washington. I mean, it's not the hardest remaining schedule that you could possibly want. You get Indiana at home. You do have to travel to Iowa and Washington, but the Ducks are going to be favored in every single football game they
will
play.
be favored from here on out. Yep.
Yeah, I would say aside from a disastrous injury, this team is bound for the Big Ten title game. And I don't even think that's a homer take. I just think that's reality now, based on what I've seen in the way they're playing football and the play of Dante Moore. And you know what's great about this year? I got the sense from the majority of Duck fans I talked to, and maybe it's because they hadn't seen, Dante Moore play, and there was a lot of new faces coming in. I didn't get the sense that people were really excited. They weren't sure what to expect.
Not sure what to expect.
But once I did some, diving, I did strength up front defensively. But, they brought in the two guys, World and Harkey, out of the portal on the offensive up front defensively. But, they brought in the two guys, World and Harkey, out of the portal on the offensive line to play tackle. And, got new faces up front. But the continuity and the way that group is played, and they've gotten the punch back in the run game that they were lacking last year. Like, the way the offensive line is played, along with the run game, getting the true balance back in the offense, that's really impressed me because I did not foresee that.
And look at how that offensive line played in that atmosphere where you can't hear, so you are really going on silent counts or different counts, and the way that Dante Moore handled that, the way that the center Poncho handled that, in a hostile environment when it's loud and changing the call at the line of scrimmage. They were phenomenal in that game. And that's just what, and I've said this before, that's what impressed me so much is the poise of that offense and especially of Dante Moore throughout that whole game. They were never rattled one time by that Penn State crowd.
All right, so Ohio State coming off the win at Washington. Here's their remaining slate. They have to host Minnesota. That's coming up this weekend. Then they travel to Illinois, which is a good football team.
Yeah.
They had the one loss at Indiana, but they just beat USC at home. Then they get a bye week. Then they host Penn State. They're at Purdue, UCLA. They get Rutgers at home, at Michigan, and in the Big Ten championship game. So I look at their schedule the same way that I do Oregon. The Ducks have to play at Iowa and at Washington, where Ohio State's got to play Penn State at home, and then they do have to make the trip to Michigan. So really, both teams are in the same boat. They're going to be favored basically in every game they play, but there are a couple of games where you look at and say, okay, they've got to be careful here. Maybe they could stub their toe, but I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, you got that big rival toward the end. You never know what's going to happen in that Ohio State-Michigan game. Same thing for Oregon-Washington when it's up in Seattle.
And the reality is that once Ohio State beats Penn State at home, they'll both have the tiebreak over Penn State.
Yeah.
And then that will pretty much guarantee the matchup that we want to see, which is Oregon and Ohio State, and a great opportunity for Oregon to get the rematch from last year's two games.
Yep, just got to take it one game at a time. Got to get through Indiana next in a couple of weeks. And then that at Iowa game is another one to be leery. And you even said at Rutgers, not a gimme. So you got to go across the country. Who knows what time that's going to be played at. So we'll see how that plays out.
What year did you graduate from Oregon?
I graduated in the mid-'90s is when I graduated.
So you graduated right when the football program was starting to take off.
My freshman year at the University of Oregon, the Ducks made the Independence Bowl in Shreveport, Louisiana. It was
with Musgrave.
Their first bowl in 30 years. Party all over campus. They were so pumped. They played Tulsa in the in the Independence Bowl, and we couldn't have been more excited. It was so great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You were there on the ground floor of what Rich Brooks was doing.
When it was first starting out, when Bill Musgrave led them to their first bowl in like 30 years.
I remember when they went to the Rose Bowl.
95.
95. And how excited everybody was.
It was amazing just to see the Oregon colors painted on the Rose Bowl turf in one of the end zones. I was at that game. I went to that.
How was that experience?
Well, it was great until Kajana Carter ran the first play from scrimmage up the middle for a touchdown, and we thought, oh, we might be in a little over our heads here. But they were competitive. Musgrave always kept them competitive, and that was before they had any kind of line that could match up with a Big Ten type team. So, but it was really what a great experience. The first Rose Bowl in forever for the Ducks to be there. So much fun.
And now the program, one of the best in the entire country.
Yeah, unbelievable. In my interviews with, Jerry and Jorgie, sometimes we've had that discussion. Did you ever think that the program would get to this level where we're talking national championship at the University of Oregon? And they'll admit it. No, we never thought that
every
would happen.
Year.
Yeah, nowadays, yeah, every year. It was such an accomplishment. Remember, and you hear that sometimes in the famous call from Jerry Allen when the Ducks won the Civil War, that they were going to go to the BCS championship game, and tears coming out of Jerry Allen's eyes, and you can hear it in his voice when he's making the announcement, when he's making that final call that the Ducks are going to play in the BCS national championship game. And now it's like, well, I hope so. Yeah, it's a certain possibility every year.
I just really credit the hire from Rob on Dan Lanning. He was the guy that no one was talking about. The original story that came out that Dan Lanning was going to be the coach was from a guy in Georgia, so no one believed it was true. But it was the right hire because he was the guy, young, energy, great recruiter, and had great knowledge of a different region in the country, the Southeast.
Yep.
And so you make that hire and go outside the box, and you bring in a guy from the outside. It's exactly what they needed. And Lanning now is just continuing to blossom as a coach. Great energy, great motivator, great recruiter. And look at the roster. I think Burkhart was mentioning this to me. Just look at, when you see him on the field, the amount of talent and athletes that they have across the board at all positions is mind-blowing.
And the depth that they have. They bring in a running back from the transfer portal, Mekhi Hughes. He didn't even make the trip this last game. He can't get past De'Aaron Hill and Jaden Lamar and Jordan Davison, another freshman. So he's brought in the portal. Can't make the ones or twos.
Yeah, and that's really a big difference because in college football, the depth, the teams, the best teams, they've got the depth. So when you suffer multiple injuries in a position group, you've got the players who can come in and right the ship for you until those guys get healthy. You don't drop games.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been an amazing, amazing run for the Ducks these past 25 years.
Okay, we'll come back. Chris Burkhart here. We appreciate your time. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Michael Shacker is here. We appreciate your time. You're going to hear my conversation with Dame at 5. We'll talk with Oregon State head coach Trent Bray at 5:20. 503-248-0620. Chris Burkhart in studio next. Jump on board 503-248-0620. And, of course, you can always listen live and podcast via our free iHeartRadio app. All right, this is awesome. We got a little menage a trois going on the Rip City Drive right now. Curtis Long, the principal, is in the house, and now I'm joined by Chris Burkhardt, who's been slaving away. Both these guys were down there at Blazer Media Day along with myself, Michael Shacker, Brendan Slaughter. It's a good thing that building didn't catch on fire. The entire Rip City Radio crew was in there working.
It would have had Mike Oakes having the host and produce, and he would have had to come in out of nowhere.
He would have been mad about that, too. All right, man. It's great to see you in here, Burkhardt. Let's start with you. How about that game on Saturday, dude? Oregon and Penn State. I called you on Saturday night because we both had to talk about it. But, like, a lot of times you'll hype up a weekend. But, man, starting on Friday night all the way through Saturday, that was just an awesome college football weekend. It was awesome. And that game between Oregon and Penn State was like two heavyweights just going head-to-head, toe-to-toe, baby.
I could go down the street right now to the convenience store, grab a 12-pack of Red Bull, shotgun all 12 of them, and my heart rate still wouldn't be as high as it was during that game. Because holy smokes, that was football right there, man. It was so nice to watch Oregon get the dub.
What jumped out at you? What impressed you the most with the way they were able to win that game? Was it Dante Moore? Was it the defense and the way they controlled the Penn State run game? What'd you see?
Well, I thought Dante was great. Dante was great. He looked poised. And, I mean, I liked right from the jump, I think you knew Oregon was ready. 'Cause I had mentioned it on social that they walk out that tunnel and you hear the boos and you just see Dan Lanning smile. Like he was ready for that, right? And then every single time the camera panned to Dante Moore, the F word came to mind. Focus. Like he was laser focused at all times, was not pushed off his game, which was great. And you needed that. And then the other thing you needed, and was something you and I talked about all last week, was the trenches. You needed to win that game. And everyone, the run defense ain't that good because they haven't played any good teams. Just wait till they play Penn State. And they locked that run game down. It was a great defensive performance.
You mentioned the same thing, Curtis, about Dante Moore being locked in. You noticed the poise, too.
Poise the entire time. Never looked rattled at all. When you looked at Penn State quarterback, he looked shocked. Oh, my goodness, this is a lot of people here in my own stadium. He looked pretty paranoid, I thought, coming into the huddle a few times and checking the plays on his wristband. He looked very, very rattled, unlike Dante Moore, who was under control the whole game.
I think Penn State felt the pressure. They were the ones who really wanted that game. And then when the Ducks took control early and they got into the second half, you could see the Lions, they tightened up. They really did.
Yeah, that's exactly what you wanted, right? You just wanted them to play that type of game, be physical, which is, again, it's just something that I have not seen from an Oregon team as long as I've been a fan, is just being able to go in and win the games physically. I mean, they looked like a Big Ten team. They looked like an SEC team. They looked like a team that would out-physical a Duck team from even 2 or 3 years ago, and that's important. And then defensively, again, you and I talked about it last week. I thought that the schemes were going to be a little more complex because they were running a lot of base stuff against Oklahoma State and OSU, and they were far more complex in this game, and it had Penn State guessing.
There's nothing more satisfying than going on the road and beating a team physically. Like, it's the ultimate for a football team when you go in there and you beat them at their game.
That's why Dan Lanning was smiling the whole time. And how about Dan Lanning's reaction at the end? Did you watch the post-game interview with him?
I did.
With the beads of sweat coming down his...
He looked like he was coked out, man.
Oh,
he did.
Like, he didn't know what to do. He was so proud of his guys and so cranked up that he couldn't even barely speak.
That's exactly what you want in a coach,
Yeah.
though. Like, you want that. I love that. He was just, right on there. You're right. He did. He looked like he took something, right? he was there, but you love that. And that's a guy who loves that team, loves those guys. They went out there and they won that game for him. And it's, I'm not even lying when I say this. And a lot of people will say it's a cop out, Curtis, I was like, I don't even care if Oregon loses this game because this was a great football game.
Absolutely.
Start to finish. This was just top notch championship level football from both teams.
But see, this is what I love about the playoff expansion. A game like that, Penn State walks away, they lose a classic, but they still have life.
Yeah,
their season's not over,
Nope.
and they still have access to the playoff, which is the way it should be. Those are two quality football teams.
Absolutely. Very good quality football teams, and you played 10 times, and it's probably Penn State might win 5 of them.
Now, Burkhardt, you made a great point after the game when we were talking. You said, hey, it's unfortunate that James Franklin has taken so much heat from the fan base, and I understand his record against top opponents, but the reality is in that game, like Lanning, he coached his ass off.
He did. You're getting in like the Ryan Day territory, right? Had Day not won a championship last year, there would have been a lot of people wanted him fired, and you look at James Franklin, and I thought he coached a heck of a game. He got his team in a great spot to make that comeback. And that final drive of regulation, that was a championship drive. They milked like 6.5 minutes or something off that clock, just 2 yards, 3 yards, just kept chipping away at that rock of an Oregon defense, scored without giving Oregon time. I mean, that was exactly how you want to play that final drive. It was perfect. I mean, you can't, is it James Franklin's fault that Drew Aller goes and throws a pick? It's not his fault.
No.
What
did you guys think about that throw? When he threw it, I thought the guy was open. I think that might have been a case of the backer just doing a good job of turning around and spotting the ball.
Well, Oregon knew the play was coming. That's when they'd run with their tight end from last year before many times, and they hadn't run it yet. Penn State hadn't run it yet. So Thieneman said, I knew that one was coming, and we knew it exactly when they lined up that was coming. He knew right where to be. So that's an example of coaching right there.
Yeah, and if you watch that play, and I have watched it on repeat, you look at Thieneman, and it almost looks like he is either in a man defense or fakes like he's going into the flat low, because he steps in, and there is a receiver down there. And when Aller thinks that's where he's going, that's when he sags back into that zone and cuts that pass off. And Aller doesn't even see that he faked that out. I mean, he faked him out perfectly, right in the perfect spot. They knew it was coming, like
almost
Curtis
like he
said.
baited him into the
Exactly, because he did. He went down hard, looked like he was going to attack that flat, attack the second receiver, and then it was about 1-2 steps, and then he went back into the zone. Boom, ball's right there.
Yeah, what a great game. I thought Penn State showed a lot of resolve to be able to come back and score 2 straight touchdowns. I think the majority of Duck fans probably thought the game was over. They nutted up, and they got 2 scores. And as you pointed out, that last drive was manly because they put it in the end zone with 30 seconds on the clock, forcing the overtime period.
Yeah, I mean, that was at the point where I was sitting there going, oh, gosh. I mean, overtime, momentum isn't a thing, they say, but one team definitely has the momentum right now. Like, this is not good because when they made that comeback, the last thing you need if you're Oregon is 113,000 people fired back up, right? Because you had them dead silent, could have heard a pin drop, right? Now they're back into it. The offense on Penn State's side has a little momentum. They're feeling the juice again. Things were in Penn State's favor.
Now, Curtis, what were you saying? Dante Moore is the leader in the clubhouse right now for Heisman odds?
Heisman odds now at 7-1. He's the leader in the clubhouse now after that game. Yeah.
Curtis and I were talking, too. I don't think Duck fans knew that they were getting this in Dante Moore. I'm not sure they knew what to expect, but they weren't expecting this.
I will tell you this, as a Duck fan, I was hoping this is what we got because I think it flies under the radar a little bit, and I personally think that Dan Lanning has a lot to gain and a lot to lose with Dante because people tend to forget that he was kind of Dan Lanning's first big get in the recruiting trail, right? And then he backs out, goes to UCLA, ends up coming back, and now Dan Lanning, everyone keeps going, oh, he transferred in from UCLA. This was a Dan Lanning guy long ago, right? And so I think Dan Lanning has a lot riding on him to say, hey, this is the type of guy I wanted. Look what I can do with him. And so I was hoping, hey, I hope it pans out. I hope Dan knows what he's doing. Right now, I think this is better than anybody hoped that they would get out of him.
And a lot of the players talked about it, too. They had been saying all summer long, we've got a good one behind under center. You haven't seen it yet, but you wait till you see him. And they were right.
I think
they were talking.
I think it was Trayshawn Holden who said it. Like, this guy's he throws one of the best balls on the team. He can go win a Heisman. And after that game, he got back on social. He's like, I told you guys. Yep. I told you. Like, he's the truth, man.
Dude, they won the battle on first and second down
repeatedly, over and over again.
They outrushed Penn State in their own building, and they basically controlled the game almost from start until finish. It was almost the perfect performance. I mean, obviously, you prefer that you don't give up 2 touchdowns late in the game, but home teams make runs. That's part of it. Yeah, that was a ballsy performance. It was great. Now, a lot of people are taking issue with Dan Lanning saying basically it was like the biggest win in his tenure there. Would you agree with that? Is the Penn State win on the road bigger than anything else he's done, like the Ohio State one?
I think it's bigger
year?
than what he's done. A lot of people have debated if that's one of the biggest regular season wins in program history. Remember, they went to Ohio State a few years ago and won at the Shoe. They won last year against Ohio State.
They might look differently at the win at the Shoe if the team hadn't fallen apart after that
Afterwards,
game.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think, Burkhart? Is that the best win for Lanning thus far?
Yeah, I think it might be. I think I put it ahead of the Ohio State one just because, I mean, the whiteout, the history behind that on the road, hostile territory. Like at least with Ohio State last year, you had Autzen in your favor, right? And this game, I think what makes this one good is for the most part they dominated large chunks of that game, which I don't think anyone expected.
What year did you graduate? So Curtis was mid-'90s. When did you graduate?
I graduated 2011.
So you were there during the Chip years.
Mm-hmm.
And Lanning's taken it to a different level. So Chip took it to a different level from Rich when Curtis was there.
Mm-hmm.
And now Lanning, just based on the quality of athlete, has taken it to a different level.
Yeah, it's the biggest thing. And I will fight any Duck fan who wants to tell me otherwise. But, like, there's a lot of hatred for Willie Taggart, right? And I think Willie Taggart deserves a little bit of praise for what he did when he came in, because that guy completely changed how Oregon was going to approach recruiting. He brought in guys like Cristobal and guys who would hit the trail, were known recruiters, which wasn't an Oregon thing before, right? And then they started getting recruits. You hand it over to Cristobal. Cristobal takes it exactly where you need to go, starts hitting it, same thing, hitting the trail, getting all these guys in. And then you get a guy like Dan Lanning, who at the time at Georgia was one of the best defensive coordinators in the country, known as being a good recruiter. So over the years, you've brought in guys who are recruit, and now you got a guy who does it, understands the value of the portal in today's college football landscape. And obviously, one thing I do love about him is everyone always talks about players learning from their mistakes. Go watch the two losses against Washington a few years ago. It's like, he has learned from his mistakes as a coach, too, and gotten better. And I love Dan Lanning. I'm ready to run through a wall for him.
Love that so much. All right, that's Chris Burkhardt. I'm Chad Doing. Curtis, the Principal Long, is here. We'll come back and we'll dive into Media Day because we want to get some of Chris's thoughts. We'll hear from some audio dames. You'll hear my conversation with him at 5. And then Oregon State head coach Trent Bray's at 5:20. A little menage a trois on the Rip City Drive right now. Hope you're enjoying your Monday on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, fellas. Young Hansen had a chance to speak at Media Day today. And Curtis, he brought the humor.
Yes, he did. He brought the humor, and he was asked if he could. He was asked if he's learned any English sayings or anything, and he answered a few of them. But he actually answered how his English is coming along in English. Listen to this.
I think I English bad every day, but sometimes it's Chinglish.
Refers to himself as speaking Chinglish, a little combination between Chinese and English.
Gosh, that's so tough. All right, Burkhart, you were down there. You had a chance to hear from everybody. What were a couple of the items that jumped out at you?
It really jumped out to me how every single one of those players kind of had a glowing review of Young Hansen. I thought that definitely stood out. Rob Williams went in deep on him about just how his knowledge base is there, how he picks up the game is just on a different level, like in his passing, all that stuff. And every single player had something to say about him, which I thought was pretty telling. And then, as you guys had hinted on already, it was pretty telling that Jeremy Grant is definitely not wanting to relinquish that starting job, and it sounds like that's his. And so, coach has some decisions to make with the rotations and all that. But those are two things that stood out.
All right, let's go ahead and stop on Jeremy Grant for just a moment. Going back to the question about, whether or not he expects to start. Here's how that went down.
Have you considered a role where you would have to not start games here, or is that not something you've thought about?
Nah, I don't really expect that. So.
Do you feel like there's room for you, Tamani, Denny, all as part of the starting lineup together?
Yeah, I think we all are versatile. I think we all can play multiple positions. Yeah, I do.
All right, that's Jeremy Grant. Now here's Shaden Sharp when asked about starting.
You expect to be a starter this year?
I don't expect anything really. I just expect for me to come in and help this team, whether that's, coming off the bench or starting. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm just going to come out and do what I got to do to help this team.
All right, Burkhart, the way the principal and I read that is very simple. Jeremy Grant's been communicated with where he knows he's going to start, and Shaden Sharp knows he's going to come off the bench. That's how I read that. What's your take?
I think your read is probably correct. And I think at this point in time, I know a lot of people are up in arms because they're like, oh, if Jeremy's starting, that means, Tumani's not or Shea's not. They get mad. But I look at this realistically, understanding what the team did late in the season last year, how they want to build themselves moving forward. I think it's pretty clear, at least from Chauncey Billups' standpoint, that defense is going to get you on the floor. And who's a better defender, Shaden Sharp or Tumani Kamara, Shaden Sharp or Denny Avdia, Shaden Sharp or Jeremy Grant? Well, those three that are battling with Sharp for those spots are the better defenders.
Yeah.
And they're going to find ways to get on the court.
Well, the more I think of it, if you go with whoever you want to put at guard next to Drew, I guess it would be Denny. So you go Drew, Denny, Klingon, Grant, and Tamani. That's not a bad starting lineup. And I think that's Shane coming off the bench.
And I think that's where they're leaning right now. I think that's what it's going to be on opening night. And the thing is, I think this is also, the challenge, right? Shea, we need you to play defense. That's going to get you on the court. And guess what? We got a guy in Drew who's going to show you exactly what that means, right? How I want that done in a Chauncey Billups offense and defensive setting. So there's a lot for Shea to learn there and take advantage of.
And I think, for Shaden Sharp, if he continues to step up defensively, he's going to get as many minutes as he wants.
Absolutely.
Right? If he's executing and doing things the way the coaches want with his talent level, I don't have an issue with his offense whatsoever, but I know Coach, he got benched last year because of it, wants to see that consistent effort.
Remember, it's a contract year for Shaden Sharp, so he's going to have to play his best this season. He was asked about that a few times, and Shaden did a nice job of deflecting all those questions and saying, I just let my agent handle that. I'm just going to come out and play basketball. But he knows it's a contract year, and he's really got to play his best ball on both sides of the ball. Joe Cronin was asked about it at Media Day today, too, and he kind of deflected those questions and said, we're open to bringing all of our players back, our young players back. But he didn't give a definitive, yes, we are going to extend him, or no, we're not.
I wouldn't extend him right now. Why not let him play it out and see how things work?
No, I think you have to.
Yeah.
You have to. You don't just want to throw money that way. And I know with Shea, like everyone wants him in the starting lineup, and that's where I want from him as well. But I do think he still has to earn that. Like we have been banking on Shaedon Sharpe potential now for a long time, and he's shown flashes of it. He had that streak last year towards the end where it felt like he was averaging about 30 points a game, showed a little bit of that offensive game of his, right? But he hasn't done it consistently enough to say, oh, that's the best player on the team, or that he's better than player X, right? He has to go out there and still show that.
Chris Burkhardt, Curtis Long, Chad doing with you, Rip City Drive. All right. I'll ask you the same question that Curtis asked me. Were you aware that the Blazers were looking at, putting a new offensive system in?
No, not at all. I was actually surprised by that when Coach said it. And again, it's one of those things from Coach that I like, where I thought last year in the exit interviews, he did a pretty good job of pointing out the spots where he needed to get better as a coach too. And then this year, obviously, he basically said, like, our defense or our offense isn't good enough. We got to get better on that side, too. And he talked about Tiago Splitter and how he can, lend the helping that. And I talked to you about that. I love the hire of Tiago Splitter. I think he's great for the team. But, no, I thought it was interesting.
Well, here's Coach talking about Tiago.
I added Tiago Splitter to our staff. I studied him for a while. He did a really good job. I went over there to go see him, watch him kind of operate, watch his practice, watch his games. And I really do believe that, I just talked about, I thought us establishing our defensive identity last year was the biggest part of the season. I think this year we have to start establishing who we're going to be offensively. And a couple of my hires reflect that. Tiago and Patrick St. Andrews, who was in Memphis last year and who was under Taylor Jenkins the last few years. What I want to do with our offense, those two guys have done it, so Tiago was great. His offense was really potent over there in Paris, and they played really fast. They got up and down. They tried to play before defenses got set. He had a really good point guard that kind of was the MVP of the league, obviously. So he done a really good job. And so I'm really, really excited about that and about our staff. And we've worked really hard to try to put together what I think our offensive system is going to be.
Now, Curtis, how'd you say a lot of people describe the offense unpredictable?
Random. Some of the players use the word random. It's much more free-flowing and not so much pick and roll at the top, and people watch. Remember last year when Scoot Henderson said, well, I was glad I got to take that last shot and not stand in the corner. And some other players reflected that today during media day. And Matisse Thybulle, we maybe get to him a little bit later. He said, for players like me who are more defensive-minded, sometimes we find ourselves just standing in a corner in our pick-and-roll offense. In this offense, that won't happen. It's free-flowing. It's rotating all the time. So people are going to have more opportunities and probably be more engaged on the offensive end if you know that somehow you might get that ball. You make a cut to the basket, and you've got a good passer on top like Young, and you may get you may get the pass.
Here's Thybulle on the new offense.
This offense, for players who tend to get stuck in the corner, this offense is really great to get you involved, to make you feel like you're involved. And ultimately, with any offense, that's the goal, is keeping guys engaged. And the offenses just have a tendency to have certain players get stuck in spots on the court where they don't feel like they're a part of things. And then that creates all types of problems, whether it's engagement, buy-in, or effort on defense. And not that those are things we're necessarily worried about, but the fact that everyone's going to be more involved, everyone's going to be more of a threat, I think it's going to be exciting for guys like myself and Tumani, defensive players who tend to sometimes get lost in the corners, just to be able to make more of an impact.
Well, I'll tell you what, Burkhardt, I'm liking the sound of this new offensive system.
Yeah,
guys are excited.
Yeah, and I'm glad Curtis brought it up, because that was actually one of the things that stood out to me was when Matisse took the time to reference players sitting in the corner. And I think the way he said it right there was like, I think if you're the guy who just sits in the corner, you can get bored. And maybe you miss that someone turned the ball over, and then you don't get back on defense in time because you were just kind of you're looking in the crowd. What's going on? Because I know they're not going to pass to me. You want movement and you want action. And at the same time, too, if your offense is moving a ton, that's going to make the defense work harder, which might play into your hand on the other end when offenses start to get a little more tired because they're not used to doing that against a Blazer offense.
That's a great point. Here's Scoot Henderson talking about the new offense.
The way we're playing this year is going to be a lot faster. We always talked about how we want to play fast, but there was never really any construction around it, so we were kind of just free roaming a little bit. But I feel like this year with Saint and Tiago and CB with the head of the snake, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Like you said, a lot of unexpected cuts, and I'm going to be able to know where everybody's at. We're all going to be moving in unison, so it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. We're going to be playing fast. getting up shots.
Yeah, I love everything about that.
Yeah. Scoot, can you tell in Scoot's voice? He's excited to play this offense. It's going to be fun. We're going to be moving a lot, get up a lot of shots.
Yeah. Why would you want to be playing in the corner? It's not even playing into his
strength.
strength.
But it plays into his strength.
Yeah.
It plays into Denny's strength.
Yeah.
Right?
Denny.
I think Tamani can get out and run. And also, Chad, it's funny that he mentions within the offense, getting out and running a little bit and playing with tempo and pace. And a lot of people automatically just think offense in the half-court sense, right? But Coach Billups did talk about how one emphasis defensively that they really need to improve is defensive rebounding, specifically to get out on offense and get, defenses flat-footed, or B, not give them a 14-second shot clock, right? But he was big on get the rebound, get the ball out, get moving.
Here's Coach Billups who's asking about starters.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways you could go. I say this to y'all and I say this to our guys. I'm not really the one that's deciding that. I'm really not. I'm just going to be the messenger in it. And they got to go earn it. Whoever earns it, whoever plays the best as a unit are going to be the starters. To me, we do have, I'm really happy to even have this discussion, to have the talent, to have the depth. This is new for me, so I'm really excited about that. But at the end of the day, I'm a fair coach, and I think that they all need to go and earn it. Like, we don't have like an all-star on this team or a top 75 guy. Notre Dame is not playing. Drew probably will be a Hall of Famer, at some point. But we don't have that 1-2 guys. So to me, like, everybody just got to go earn it. And I've always been about that. I believe that's the best way to be. And so I'm really not making that decision, to be honest. These guys are.
Not my decision. I'm just a messenger.
That's awesome. We wondered if that would be the case. He's done that every year. Yeah, the players will decide who starts.
Yeah, but it's interesting, too, there, Chad, as he talks about, we don't have that all-star, that one guy, right? And I look at what we saw last year in the playoffs. Look at what Indiana did. Like, yeah, Tyrese Halliburton's great, but he's not, first-team All-NBA, going into the Hall of Fame tomorrow. That team was built on all 5 players on the floor working as one unit. And why Oklahoma City does have a guy in SGA, that team also built on all 5 guys on the floor working as one unit, so anybody can get you on any given night. And so I think that's kind of the way the NBA is moving a little bit, and it's good that the Blazers are getting in on that.
I think this Blazer offense is going to look a lot like the Pacers offense, where it's very free-flowing, rolling around. Halliburton is a great facilitator, as Scoot can be, of finding the open man, but with a lot more movement this year. We're just been so used to the last couple of years, that high pick and roll and then people kind of standing around. We're not going to see that anymore this season. It'll be fun to watch.
All right, Chris Burkhardt, Curtis Long, the principal, in studio right now as we discuss Trailblazer Media Day. What else jumped out at you today, Burkhardt?
Gosh, it's I don't know, man. It's such a good question, but I'm just going to go back to the fact that I left Media Day more excited than ever to watch Young Hansen play, right? Like, more excited than ever because all the players were in on him. I thought it was interesting that Joe Cronin was talking about how, like, oh, yeah, if he's not getting enough minutes with the Trailblazers, then, yeah, we'll find ways to get him down with the Rip City remix just to get run. But I want him to have an impact with the Blazers, right? And so I left really, really excited to see him.
Here's a coach on that center rotation.
He's right there in the mix. Obviously, DC, Rob, Hansen, DC, Hansen, Rob, Wap. I mean, we have 4 of them, and it just kind of depends on how they're all playing. If Rob is healthy. Obviously, he's not really ready to go right now. I think Hansen's did a really good job, these last couple months of just trying to get situated, trying to understand what we're doing. He's definitely going to play.
Did you get that sense too, Curtis, that people are excited about Hansen?
Every player was asked about him. It was usually their last question, and every player to a man was glowing reviews of Young Hansen. Every one of them. It was fun to listen to. Rob Williams, who's really fun to listen to, said, the best part about Young Hansen is we'll tear into him at practice. We'll yell at him for something that he's not doing. We don't know whether he's understanding our English or not. The translator's running over to kind of help. But sure enough, the very next play, he goes right to the spot where he's supposed to be. So he picks up things. Even if there's a language barrier, he understands basketball. He understands what they're trying to tell him. Hey, no, you need to roll this way. And he does it the next time down the floor. So that's big dividends for the Trailblazers if they're going to be able to with the language barrier that he's still picking those kind of things up.
And he also said with a smile, and sometimes we get through to him before the translator gets over there.
Yeah.
Which went back to the point of him talking about how he picks things up and his knowledge for the game, which is what everyone goes back to.
It goes back to what Coach Bobes talked about after they drafted him, that basketball is universal language.
Yeah.
So it's not as difficult as you might think it is with the language barrier, because players, when they're on the floor, they know what they're supposed to do and where they need to be just by a look or, a signal. Like, guys know that, which is cool. That makes it easier to be able to teach the game and come to an understanding as teammates.
And Hansen was asked during Media Day today about his where did his love for passing come from and how has he developed that skill? And he answered that, and then toward the end of it, he said, I also had a lot of turnovers during Summer League, so I'm glad you didn't ask about turnovers. I'm really working on improving those as well.
Who was his influence on the passing?
I didn't catch a certain person that was his influence. He just likes being able to make his teammates better. That's what he seems to always come back to that theme. I just want to make the team better.
And that's the one skill that they saw when they scouted him that both Billups and Cronin said they think will translate very well to the NBA. That he's an elite level passer.
Yeah, and that's good, especially if you're going to have an offense that's going to move people around a lot, right? And you can have a facilitator who can get that done. And I know he got the early comparisons, right, as Chinese Jokic, right? And he's not Jokic. Let's just be completely clear on that. Jokic is in a stratosphere all his own. But what Jokic does on that offense, you're not used to seeing a 7-footer who can keep the ball away from you and find people no matter where they are, right? And if Jan can get that going and move the offense, that's just one extra little thing that they have. I think what's really interesting is how those rotations pair out, because you have Wap, who is a really good shooter for a big man, right? Now you have Jan Hansen, who is, by all accounts, a good facilitator for a big man. And then you have two other good centers who are absolutely great defensive anchors. So you can mess with your rotation depending on what your need is, which is huge if you're a coach.
I asked Cronin when I talked to him if they would use the G League for Hansen, and he said it was possible. I don't know if you got the same thing, Curtis, from that, but I don't think they're going to send him down. I think they're going to play him. He's going to stay with the team.
Cronin said only if we get in a situation where we just don't feel like he's getting enough reps with the big club, then we'll send him down for maybe a couple of weeks at a time. But otherwise, and Chauncey made it clear, he's going to play. So we'll see him out there.
Yeah, that's the exact vibe I got. They want him to be
He's going to play on a regular basis.
Here. Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense, right? If Rob can't play and you've got Klingon, who else you got besides, Wap, who's not really a traditional center?
Well, it doesn't look like Rob's going to be ready to go at the beginning of the year. They didn't take any indication about that. He wouldn't reveal when he's going to be ready. In fact, he was even asked, now, is a good date for you going to be October or a good date going? Because he said, well, it's a good date. You guys will like it. And they said, well, is that October or is that November? And he wouldn't say.
Non-committal.
He's very non-committal. And I remember last year we did have instances where Klingon would get into foul trouble. Now, if Klingon can't cut down on fouling, he gets in early foul trouble. The Blazers are going to be in a little bit of trouble with an inexperienced Hansen and no Rob Williams right away. Then you got to bring in Dwap Reith, who's got to play more in the middle. He's more of a perimeter player.
Yeah, that's tough. That's absolutely tough. But I also think when you look at how those rotations work, depending on how you want to play it, you can. Rob Williams is athletic enough that you could see realistically a lineup where at times in spare minutes, right, you can run Young and him out there together just to run things out defensively. Again, how you want to switch things with your second units. I think especially if you are leaning on a heavy defense in your starting lineup, which it sounds like they're going to do, you bring Shea off. Well, you need someone to facilitate to him, and that's where Young could come into play. So there's a lot of variables here.
And Chad, you'll like this. When Klingon was asked, have you lost any weight over the summer? What's been your fitness regimen? Klingon says he's lost about 10 pounds of weight, gained about 10 pounds of muscle. And he says that he can go at least 30 minutes a game this year. His fitness is up to that level. No more 20 minutes a game for him.
Klingon looked different. His physique, the way he appeared looked different. And Kevin Calabro has dropped some LBs and looked great. He looked amazing. I told him that.
He did look good, yep.
I said, good job, KC, looking good. What else jumped out? Aside from Dan Moraine continuing with the excessively long questions with a lot of basketball words mixed in.
In the front row.
No one can stop Moraine when it comes to the long, drawn-out basketball questions. Like, dude, you don't need to mix in the words to try and sound like you're basketball smart. Just get to your point, because it's got to drive everyone in that room crazy.
A little bit. A little bit, but real quick, I think what stood out also was as complimentary as everyone was of Young, there was a lot, especially the Tumanis and company, excited to play with Drew Holiday. And Drew, remember when he was traded? Oh, he's PO'd. He doesn't want to be here. Definitely didn't sound like a guy.
On your home of the 5, Chris Burkhardt, the principal, Curtis Long, Chad doing with you. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers. Chris Burkhardt, the principal, Curtis Long, Chad doing with you. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. Boy, how about that? Oregon, after the win over Penn State, now ranked second in both polls, coaches and AP, right behind Ohio State and just one spot ahead of Miami. It's well-deserved after that victory. Just the way that offensive line is playing and the way they're running the ball in the interior. And Miami's got Florida State coming. That offensive line is playing and the way they're running the ball in the interior. And Miami's got Florida State coming up this weekend.
I was just going to ask you. I haven't checked their schedule. What do they have coming up
Florida
in the next
State,
coming weeks?
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I think Florida State dropped that game against Virginia. It was a trap game with Florida State coming up. That's going to be this Saturday, 4:30 on ABC. Miami at Florida State. And then after that, they'll take on Louisville and Stanford at home, at SMU, Syracuse, and NC State at home, at Virginia Tech, and at Pittsburgh. So
it looks favorable.
That's a very favorable schedule. It doesn't come without potential pitfalls.
Don't know with Mario.
That's the thing, the Mario factor. But, man, number 2 already. Gosh, the Ducks have shot straight up there.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. I like it. I got not much to add. Although I do know a lot of Duck fans have already started to look ahead to potential college football playoffs. And like, gosh, wouldn't a matchup versus Mario and Miami just be awesome?
Yeah, this is great. So Ohio State, number 1, Oregon 2, Miami 3. I just watched the entire Ole Miss LSU game, and I'll tell you what, Ole Miss is legit.
They're legit, yeah.
Great defense. Their defensive front put pressure on LSU all day. Their secondary was top-notch, and Trinidad Chambliss has turned out to be a terrific quarterback for them. They run the football well, good balance, and Lane Kiffin has done a heck of a job with that offense.
The interesting documentary about him that just came out on ESPN.
I encourage all people to watch it, yeah.
Very interesting.
I love Lane.
Because you kind of go from hating the guy to by the end of the hour, you're like, well, he's not so bad after all. He's kind of learned from his mistakes.
I was just gonna say I haven't watched the doc, but I do think it's always good to watch a guy who's bounced around, had some struggles, finally find it.
And he's very upfront about it, about why he made the decisions he did and what happened. And I thought it was a great documentary.
And how about Kalen DeBoer? With all the pressure on him and the criticism, goes into Georgia and gets a big-time win. First trip to Athens since 2015 for Bama, and they get the victory in impressive fashion.
Well, I mean, no one was going to question that man's ability to coach. I think the recruiting is what everyone is worried about, but it was only a matter of time before he figured it out, and it looks like he might be starting to figure it out at Bama. Also, though, it does seem like Bama just kind of has Georgia's number, so Kirby Smart doesn't know what to do with him.
Amazing. So good. Yeah, this is great, man. I'm loving college football so much. But those teams, I mean, Ohio State, Oregon, Miami, Ole Miss looks good. Oklahoma's got the injury to John Mateer, so we'll see what they do until he comes back. Texas A&M's been great. Indiana's a bit of an unknown. We'll find out more about them coming up against Oregon. But, yeah, Oregon is absolutely one of the best teams in the country.
Sure showed it. Yeah, they sure look like it on Saturday, that's for sure.
And they're good enough to compete with any of those teams come playoff time. I mean, that's how good they are. They are that good. I think Ohio State, what impressed me the most about them is how they just physically dominated Washington. You know, they got a young quarterback, so they're still working through some things offensively, but they're so strong at the line of scrimmage, it's absurd. And their defense is legit.
Yeah, I think I heard that's the first time the Huskies have not scored a touchdown in a game in like 10 years. Not scored a touchdown. And that was at home.
At home.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about it, Chad. Like, what do you gotta do right now to be a true championship team? You got to be able to win those battles in the trenches. I mean, you look at the Husky team that went to the national title game. They didn't have the guys up front on either side. They had, a great receiving core, and in my opinion, the Heisman winner, because I loved Penix that year as a quarterback. But they were just missing some of those big bodies who could push people around, similar to the Ducks when they went with Mariota, right? When they went and played Auburn. Great speed, great talent. Didn't have the bodies to stop Nick Fairley consistently, right? Now, like I said, this is what we just saw at Penn State. That is a team built like a championship team.
So good. So good. Dude, I want another weekend like last weekend all over again. I wish I could go back and relive it. It was so awesome. Starting on Friday night. I want to go back on Friday night and relive that entire experience all through the weekend.
I tell you what. I don't know if I'm alone here, but you get Friday night and you get FSU in Virginia, which was wonderful, and then you get to Saturday and you just start with college game day, right?
Hey, don't forget about ASU and TCU, man. The Sun Devils coming back from 17 down.
I know that's your jam. Okay, we'll talk about Micah Alhaido and Hawaii too. Okay,
big win for them at Air Force.
It was a big win, but the point is, You got those games on Friday. You wake up on Saturday. It's game after game after game. You got the viewing experience. I watch on my computer screen with 6 different tabs all going at once, and then Sunday comes and you're still jazzed for football, and it's like, oh, they played like 6 games at noon, and then I got to wait till like 5 o'clock for one more good one. Like, what am I going to do with my downtime here? I want to be able to change to some other games. Come on, NFL, help me out here a little bit.
I tried to OD on football. I was like, is it possible? I watched over 12 hours of football on Saturday.
It's not possible.
And then I went right into Sunday and watched more ball. 12 hours. Like, I'm a total loser. And it was awesome.
Tried to OD on football.
I told Chad we were at a captain's camp for the OSAA on Saturday, right?
Okay.
And we're teaching all these young kids how to be leaders, which was wonderful. And I'm up at the podium running the PowerPoint for everyone who's doing their presentations. And I can't have anything on my computer because it will go on the PowerPoint. But my phone was right there with the USC game going on. Like, we live in this time where if I can lock into football, I'm locking into football.
I just love being here in studio with you. I haven't done this in a while. We go to break, and you are constantly you're right to the internet, seeing what schedules are ahead for certain teams, what the rankings are right now.
It's great.
You're addicted. You're addicted to college football.
Yeah, it's a great thing to be addicted to as well. That's fun, dude. And I didn't think. I guess the part that continues to surprise me is like none of us knew what it would be like when they expanded the playoff.
No,
everyone thought it would water down the regular season. Well, that's bullcrap. No. It's done the exact opposite. It's made it better because more teams, more fan bases have interest because they all got a chance to make the postseason. They lied to us. It's made it better. It has.
Do you think it'll go beyond 12 eventually?
Oh, 16 for sure.
Yeah.
We're going to get that here probably next year. Yeah, it's like they lied to us. All the crap that those bastards told us for years about the playoff and how it wouldn't work and how you didn't want to water down the regular season, all lies. They were lying out of their devil ass, and now all we've got is greatness. Like even last year, we went into a championship weekend. Multiple teams were playing for a spot in the playoff.
Yeah.
Right. And you're right. And I told you this going into the game this past weekend. I was like, well, whoever loses, Penn State, Oregon, like just keep in mind, Ohio State lost to this exact same time last year, didn't even make it to the conference championship, but they won the whole thing.
Dude, that's what I'm talking about. Like last year on Championship Saturday, you had Iowa State and ASU playing in the Big 12 title game. The winner would make the playoff. And if you remember in the ACC title game, SMU and Clemson, SMU was probably in no matter what. Clemson beats them and gets into the postseason. They both make it in.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be possible without expansion. We Bray will join the show at 5:20. But Chris Burkhardt and the principal Curtis Long are here, Michael Shacker. We appreciate your time. Trailblazer Media Day, right here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Trailblazer Media Day, and very happy to have Damian Lillard in the house. He's back here in Portland. Dame, how did you celebrate when you got back to Portland with family?
Well, I had to get together with my family at my house.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't share much about it with my family. Just as it was happening, I kind of knew some time before I actually signed back that it was gonna happen. But we all just got together. You know, everybody was excited.
You know, it's funny. One of your cousins, Chris, I see him out at the golf course all the time. Yeah. We play golf together, and he told me a couple of weeks before I got the news broke that he goes, "Yeah, I think Dame's coming back." And I thought he was just pulling my leg. I'm like, "He's not coming back. Come on now." And then when it happens, like, no way. But how exciting was that for you? Because I've got 2 kids. But when you got a chance to tell your children, like, "Hey, Daddy's not going to be on the other side of the country now," that's got to be pretty sweet.
Yeah, I think that was one of the better moments, you know, when I did, because, you know, my kids are old enough now to recognize, like, we got to go travel to see my dad. And I actually took my kids to one of the birthday parties of a kid in Damian's class.
Yeah.
So I had them all with me, and then I had to go to the practice facility to, sign the contract. So I just, left there, and I didn't take them home. I just brought them with me because we had, a time. So they were there when I signed the contract, and then after I did it, you know, they saw me do it, but, you know, they young. So we got in the car, and I was driving back home, and my daughter was just like, "Wait, so we don't gotta get on the plane and fly to Milwaukee no more?" I was like, "No." She was like, "Wait, so you're on the team here?" She just kept asking, and I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "What?" Oh my God. So just that interaction made me realize
it's a big
my
deal.
Kids did fine, you know, because I saw them. You know, I got a lot of family here. They did fine, but it just showed how much it did mean, you know, for them to know my dad is here.
Yeah.
You know, she even was like, "So you're going to be in your house? You're going to be in your house?" I was like, "Yes." So just seeing how animated she was about it, that meant everything to me.
That's awesome. You know, I get people who don't live here that ask me all the time, it's like, "Does Dame really love Portland?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he said that from day one, and he's said it every day since." And I've seen you out in town before. You could be over in Northeast getting some sushi or wherever. But I was curious for you, you know, Portland's unique because we got Northwest, Northeast, North Portland. Which parts of town do you like to hang in if you're going to go grab something to eat or drink or whatever?
Man, I'm all over.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm in.
Not one particular spot.
I'm not in one particular spot. You know, I just find my spots and I go there, you know. And that's pretty much it. You know, I have my people all over the city, and that's just what it is. You know, I wouldn't say, "Oh, this is my area." I'm all over.
Yeah, that's great. What was the spark through your eyes that got you and Joe and the organization communicating again to where this became a reality?
Well, it was before I was waived. It was early. I feel like it was pretty early in this season. You know, when we came back and played here, I spoke to Joe, I spoke to Jody and Bert. But Joe and I had a conversation where we, you know, pretty much was like, you know, "Look, I don't have no issues with you, you know, and what happened. It was never me," because me and Joe always had a really good relationship, you know, even before he became general manager. So, you know, we both basically just made it clear, "Hey, it's no hard feelings," and there was no major conversation that needed to be had aside from that, you know, and we both acknowledged that to each other in private, you know, without knowing that this would even come up.
Yeah.
And then when this came up, you know, we spoke, and, you know, we got together and kind of said the same thing, where, you know, I was like, we shared what we shared, you know.
Yeah.
When I say me and Joe had a relationship prior to him being general manager, I used to literally sit in his office and talk about players. And he ain't a Raiders fan no more. He ditched us, but he used to be. But it was just that. But, you know, I think when we sat down, we both were ready to to do it, and I also knew that it was never the time. There was a rebuild happening, and I was like, man, I want a chance to win. But even when it did happen, that wasn't what in my heart I wanted to do, you know, and that was the hardest part, is that in my heart I was very close to just never doing nothing, you know. But I was like, what if I just never find out, what I could be missing out on right now? So
now you don't have to worry about the what ifs.
Yeah.
I was told that, when you put out a new album with your music, that you like to invite people over who you respect that know music, right? Because you want their honest feedback. How do you enjoy that creative process when you're hearing from people you respect giving you their honest take on what you've dropped?
I think that's one of my favorite parts of the process, is because you get to see like where you really are. And that's, for me, basketball is like my everything, and I love to do music, but like my life doesn't depend on that. So I just want to do it, at the highest quality level that I can. And there's nothing better than being able to, send a song to, like, Common is a good friend of mine. And just send it to him like, listen to this and let me know what you think, and know that he's going to take the time to listen to it. And then there's been times where he's hit me back like, no, I don't really, this is not complete. This needs something different. Like, he'll just tell me. He's told me that.
That's good. It's nice to have those type of voices in your life, man.
Like, I think one thing that I've always been blessed with in my basketball career, my music career, in my life, is just people that tell me the truth.
Yeah.
So I've learned to deal with stuff that I don't like to hear, like address it and do something about it. And, it's the same in my music.
I wanted to ask you about this opportunity at Weber State, general manager. We're seeing a lot of these opportunities pop up now, Andrew Luck at Stanford and so forth. How did that opportunity come to be, and what was your thought process in accepting that?
It was something we've been talking about for like 2 years now, like before it even turned into something, which is funny to me. But we have been talking about it, and I do my elite camp, which I did 1 year in Portland, and the last 3 years has been in Arizona. But it's more of a mentorship program, just about showing, a lot of these kids the way to do stuff, just as young men, and, almost like how to be professional, like character and hard work and being coachable and being able to follow directions and just caring about stuff that matters, and not all of the extra that, social media and what it's turned into today.
Yeah.
And why there's power in that. That's pretty much how the camp is run. And when I became GM, it was basically another avenue for me to, have an impact and run like that sort of mentorship program through Weber State, to help, obviously, lift up the program by being involved with it, getting better players, but also just having an impact on young men, and sharing what I know and what I've experienced, and in ways that I know could help them, not just, if they want to become pros or if they are to become pros, but just in their lives in general. So that's really what it is for me.
I've got one more question for you. Because I've never asked you this, but there's a lot to choose from. 0.9 against Houston, then you come out and yell "Rip City" into the mic. The closer against Oklahoma City. I also, my favorite was that happy hop that you had in the hallway in Denver after you won Game 7. But maybe it's something different. But what is your favorite memory in a Trailblazer uniform? What stands out to you?
When it comes to like shots and stuff like that, obviously the 0.9 and the OKC one are like big moments for me.
Yeah.
Because as a kid, I never walked away from a basket without hitting the game winner. Like, I would do it over and over, 3-4 times before I leave.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna hit a game winner.
You practice that and envision it
Oh,
for
I got
years,
fouled.
right?
He fouled me on the 3, and I got to make 3 free throws, and we down 3. I would play those types of scenarios out over and over as a kid, me and my older brother. So those moments, I love those moments, but the moment that we like beat Denver in that Game 7, and it was like Western Conference Finals, I was like, we actually like in the Western Conference Finals.
It's almost like you were processing it in the hallway.
Yeah, I was like, we actually in the Western Conference Finals, and like if we win this, we go to the finals.
Yeah.
And like that feeling is like we earned that.
Yeah.
And that was the first time where I was like, because I always thought we can win. And after that, I was like, we right here. Like
Yeah.
we could, if we win this, like we go to the finals that year, we would have played Toronto.
Yeah. You could win
And
that
they were a
series.
great team, but I'm like, you're not going in there thinking we can't win. Like,
Yeah. Like you have no chance.
the
yeah.
hardest part was getting by Golden State.
Yeah.
Like that was the hurdle, which we didn't obviously. But like getting there, that moment right there was like, man, we got nobody would have ever. I don't even think they had us making the playoffs that year.
Yeah. That was
And
great.
you know, here we are. But that was, I would say, that moment. That was a great moment.
Well, Dame, I appreciate your time. All I can say is it's great to have you back, man. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah,
And I know you're excited too.
It's the best, man. The only thing that sucks is I'm not playing. Like I just.
How much is that going to kill you to have to watch and not be out there on the floor?
I think it is going to kill me. It'll be hard to. It'll be hard to watch, but I think I'm able to see like the value in it. You know, our team have another year to grow.
Yeah.
And to like do more and learn more and experience more. And it's a year that I'm, you know, obviously I'm rehabbing my Achilles, but my body is not taking any wear and tear.
Yeah, it's huge.
And I'm still.
You've been taking wear and tear for over a decade,
over
bro.
a decade. So, I mean, being able to have this year, and is, you know, I'm doing it as a part of the team, so
Yeah.
I'm still able to get connected with the team and to impact the team and share that space with the team and be back a part of the Trailblazers. It's a great feeling.
All right. I wish you the best.
Appreciate it.
All right. There's Dame. Always love talking with him. And how great is it to have him back in Portland in a Trailblazer uniform? And, you know, like usual, just respect the heck out of it. So it's going to be great. I feel bad for him because, you know, he's going to be jonesing so bad to play respect the heck out of it. So it's going to be great. I feel bad for him because, you know, he's going to be jonesing so bad to play basketball. But he did go through before we started the interview. He was showing me the Achilles and, you know, the progress that he's made, the flexibility. He puts in, you know, probably 2 to 3 hours a day in the different therapies and things he's doing. But, you know, he's confident through the process right now, which is great because you want Dame to be able to come back and, you know, be healthy and be confident. And so I'm just glad they're taking the long play, you know, the slow approach on this. There's no reason to rush him back to the floor. For who? For what? Take your time, get yourself right, and then when he comes back on the floor, he'll have confidence and he can come out and play and be able to contribute. And you'll hear from Chauncey, my conversation with Chauncey tomorrow. But they had, you know, long talks about this roster and how, hey, Dame, you're going to need these guys when you come back. And so Dame will learn how to adapt and adjust to a different role and realize that he doesn't have to do it himself, and he's got guys around him who can help. And it could help him, you know, become an effective player later in his career, which is cool. And that's the other thing he said at that rally last week is that, hey, I'm happy to be back here with my family, but I'm excited to play with these young guys. All right, well, brutal loss to Houston and getting ready for a trip out to Appalachian State. That's coming up next. Brutal loss to Houston and getting ready for a trip out to Appalachian State. That's coming up next. Chad Doing, Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, coming off the game against Houston, Oregon State now getting ready for a trip to Appalachian State. And joining me right now is their head coach, Trent Bray. Coach, good afternoon. Thanks for the time.
No problem.
I want to start with some of the things that really impressed me, Coach. First off, the defensive line. If you can just talk about their growth, I really liked how they were able to limit Weigman's ability to use his legs. It sure seemed like that group really stepped up. What did you see on the film?
Yeah, they did. They did a nice job of executing and taking the coaching points of here's where the escape lanes are, and this is where we need to, rally and collapse on them. And then they did a great job, went out there and executed.
Also, Trey Glasper, he didn't even turn 18, I think, until after the Cal game, and yet there he was on Friday. Had a pick, some lockdown coverage. What did the film tell you about his play?
Yeah, he just keeps getting better and better. He's had his ups and he's had some downs, but the one thing I really like about Trey is his maturity for being so young and his ability to, just forget about the play before and focus on what he's doing now. And he just keeps getting better and better.
Now, is that something you've had to coach him in terms of being able to forget the last play and move on to the next one, or is that something that just comes naturally for him?
No, I think that's something that's inside you. You can't coach that, and that's what great corners have. That's what he has.
Another one that really jumped out at me, what did the tape tell you about Cornell Hatcher? 93 yards, had a touchdown. I mean, through my eyes, it sure looked like he ran with intentions on Friday. What'd you see?
Yeah, just that. He ran physical, ran hard, downhill, no wasted movement. It was really good to see and big for us at that time in the game.
After the game, you said that you told the guys with 6.5 minutes left you were dominating the game but didn't finish. I hear players and coaches talk about finishing games all the time, but what exactly does that mean, Coach, when you say finish? What does that process look like?
So it's a mentality. I've heard a couple coaches talk about, it's the nature to try to survive. And the mentality of trying to survive the last 6 minutes or, putting your foot down and continuing to attack. And that's really where, I think we tried to survive the last 6 minutes. We played softer in coverage than we had all game, right? We were challenging them the whole game. And so the things like that lead to what happened Saturday. And that's the mentality we have to have is we got to attack at times and don't even worry about what the scoreboard is, what the time left is. It's a mentality of how we play.
Okay, that makes sense. So finishing doesn't just apply to the players. That applies to the coaches as well.
Absolutely.
We're talking with Trent Bray, Oregon State head coach, as they get ready for a trip to Appalachian State. I mean, obviously the special teams has been costly in a few games. What are you seeing on film, and how do you continue to coach it so that you get the improvement that you're looking for, Coach?
Yeah, what we've seen on film is just, like you said, they've been costly mistakes at times where we need to be at our best. Whether it's, putting points on the board on the field goal team or the executing the punt and getting it off and changing the field. And you just got to keep coaching the technique and the details of their assignment. And that's really what fell apart at the end of that game was just the detail of their footwork and body position and gap control. And it was too bad and unfortunate, but our job as coaches is to continue to work with them, get them better. So the next time we're in that situation, we knock it through.
I know some people have wondered, about coaching staff changes, but what I wanted to ask you about that is that when, you're in charge of everything, so you're evaluating, and I'm wondering that, it's easy for people to say, well, make a change with one of your coaches, but I'm wondering with a young team and a staff that's continuing to develop, maybe if sometimes continuity and continuing to work with the process that you have is maybe the best route. How do you see that, and how do you evaluate those things as a head coach to make decisions?
Yeah, so the first thing is when I look at it, I look at myself first, and then the accountability for everything that happens starts with me. So I don't immediately go to, something happens bad on special teams, I go to Coach Christian, or something happened bad on offense, I go to Coach Gunderson, or in the secondary, I go to another coach. It's what do I have to do better to help them, help our players, so we can be as good as we can. And then I think it is very important for continuity and consistency in the way they're coached. I don't think that making a change mid-season in such a big area of responsibility would be the best thing for our players.
I agree with that. Yeah, I think that sometimes, remaining steady with the approach might be the best thing to do. And also with the loss, it's frustrating to lose a game like that, but there were a lot of good things that came from that too. Like you mentioned before, the dominance over the first 3.5 quarters. So I know you're not looking for moral victories, but aren't there some good things on film that you can build on as you continue to move forward with your next game against Appalachian State?
Yeah, there is. There's a lot of good stuff, and we continue to get better, which is the encouraging part. We played really good opponents, and the last couple weeks we've continued to get better and have raised our level of play. It's just got to, we got to do it for 4 quarters now, not 3.5. We got to do it for all 4 quarters, and like we talked about earlier, finishing and keeping that foot down on the pedal the whole game.
All right, the 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 calls in overtime. It made sense to me. I'm assuming that was just based off the analytics at that point to give yourself the best chance to win. What did you see on film that prevented you from being able to execute and get the job done and pick up the yard?
Yeah, it was just what we had. We didn't do the things we had done the whole game. We were in that game, and I thought our offensive line did a nice job all game and moving, Houston off the ball, and they were controlling the line of scrimmage. And we had 2 opportunities to gain a yard, and we didn't push the pile. Didn't give our quarterback, whoever it was, whether it was going to be Malik or Jabari, we didn't give him a chance to get the first down because we didn't get movement. And if you don't get movement to start, you're not going to have a chance.
We're talking with Trent Bray, Oregon State head coach here on the Rip City Drive. After the game, you talked about the ball getting thrown over your head in that 4th quarter late in the game. I know what you mean by that, but for those who maybe not, what exactly do you mean when you say the ball is getting thrown over your head?
Yeah, we had 2 passes, that really were about half of our total yards, and they all happened in that those last 2 drives for Houston where they tied the game. We got beat on one where just lost our eyes, and then this receiver got behind us and caught a big vertical touchdown, and then the other one was we had 2 guys right there at the point of attack make the play, and their guy made a nice play and then stayed up after the hit and ran it into the end zone. So that was disappointing because we had been so solid in coverage up till that point. To give up those 2 big explosive plays at that moment was disappointing because of how well we had been playing.
Coach, as a player and as a coach, adversity is nothing new to you. You've been through losing streaks before in the past. I mean, but in your experience, what are the keys to be able to come out of that as a group when it feels like everything's going against you?
Yeah, it's about staying positive and belief in yourself and belief in the people that you are working with, both players and coaches, and knowing that when you just continue to grind and focus on what's in front of me right now, that hard time pass with people that fight through it, people that run adversity, live in adversity, and so if we attack the adversity, we'll pull through it.
When you reviewed the game film, what aspect of your attack did you think you guys did the best at? What were you most pleased with?
Yeah, I think defensively, it was definitely the way we rushed the passer. 3 sacks production-wise, but also just did a nice job not letting that quarterback hurt us with his legs, which he had done to a lot of teams. And then offensively, I thought we ran the ball much better, and it started to look like what Oregon State looks like from an offense and mentality standpoint.
All right, so you've had a chance to look at some film as you get ready for your next opponent. What can you tell us about Appalachian State? What's in store for your guys on Saturday?
Yeah, they're another good team. Kind of similar from a schematic standpoint to Houston for what they do on offense and defense, and they've got talent. They've been historically a very tough team to play, especially at home. And so we got to be ready to make that long trip and be at our best to go in there and do what we want to do and what we're there to do, which is win.
Well, Coach, I appreciate the time. I know you and your staff and your players are grinding right now. I just can't wait to see you guys break through, so I wish you the best this weekend.
Appreciate that.
There you go. There's Coach Bray here on the Rip City Drive. Difficult times right now for Oregon State, but again, he likes the process and what they've been going through. If he was in trouble against Illinois, I said that. That's exactly what in trouble against Illinois. I said that. That's exactly what I said. Let's go out and talk to Mitch right now, who wants to talk about USC. Mitch, welcome to the show. I'm sorry about your Trojans coming up short against Illinois. Mitch. I want to hear from Mitch in New Jersey. Bye. There you go. Mitch, I'm trying to mix you in, buddy. You got to be there for me. 503-248-0620. All right, Curtis Long, Chris Burkhardt in the house. You could have done that interview for me if you wanted to.
I could have. It would have been a tough one for me.
How'd I handle that one? Was it okay?
I thought you did fine. Yeah. I think he was appreciative of the way you handled it.
Well, there are other people taking a different approach in town. That's fine.
Yeah.
I feel for him, man. It's brutal.
Yeah. He's in a tough spot. I mean, he's the one who stepped forward to take that job.
When they really needed him to as well. They were down and out. Yeah, it's tough. But you just got to continue to work. I just can't. Like, you went to bed. I'm still stunned that they did not win that game. Like, I'm stunned.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it either. I went to bed when they were up 2 scores and figured this one's over. I'm going to get some sleep, be ready for my training run Saturday morning, and looked at the score in the morning and thought, oh, my God, they lost.
Well, it didn't take long. The Broncos are already playing like garbage. I mean, their offense, for having a genius head coach like Sean Payton, their offense, he's an offensive genius. That's what he tells me. Their offense sure struggles a lot. They give up a field goal to the Bungles, and now they're punting the football. Good job, Sean. Really appreciate your efforts there. They had extra prep time for this game, too. Unbelievable.
They're wearing blue today.
Yeah, they all blue. Some of these new unis, I'm not a fan. I don't like anything the Broncos got to offer right now. Just miserable football. Football, sometimes it's great, and sometimes when you're watching your own team play, it's misery. Like Chris Burkhardt watching the 49ers right now, blow a game at home to the Jags. But at least your team's 3-1. Mine's 1-2, looking like they want to try and be 1-3 right now.
I still have no idea what you're talking about because I did not care a lick about the 49ers after that Oregon-Penn State game. I was still on my high yesterday. Nothing was going to bring me down.
You know one thing I do love about Coach Bray? He's refreshingly honest in the way he describes things after games. Like, he's not going to sugarcoat anything. That's just not how he operates.
Yeah, he said coaches even need a reset, too.
All right, let's go out. Raider Mike's here. Are the phones working? Let's try Raider Mike. Raider Mike, what's up?
Is my phone better than Mitch's?
Yes, but that's not a surprise. I can also understand most of what you say, too.
Well, yeah, he's the mumbler. Mitch the mumbler. That's what he's known as on Raider Nation Radio.
Oh, he is. On Raider Nation Radio, Mitch is known as the mumbler?
Yes. Yes. There's all sorts of rules in place because of him now.
I know. He's told me that he's been booted from multiple radio shows because he calls and tries to acquiesce on West Coast teams. Is that true?
Yes. That's exactly what he does. You call in Raider Nation Radio and trying to talk about the USC Trojans and how the Raiders should get DJ Ugo, whatever his name was. You know, it's that kind of thing. It's Mitch.
Yeah, I love
Remember
Mitch.
that call when I did the impression back and forth?
Yes.
I talked just like him. That was one of the wildest calls ever.
It was. It was.
Anyway, I wanted to call and get your take on that Raider game yesterday. Because the first time in my life.
They should have won the game.
Hold on. Listen to what I did. I'm only a Raider fan. It's nothing but Bears. And I turned around after it happened, and I looked at him in the eye and go, you really think you won that game? Good luck with that. I mean, I've never done that before. What do you think of Denver tonight? What are they going to do?
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing right now. Whatever they're doing right now, I'm not impressed with. I'm just generally annoyed with Sean Payton. That's all. I mean, he's a good coach, but he drives you crazy.
Roll for 180 yards and 3 touchdowns, and you lose.
I know. It's embarrassing.
That's insane.
Yeah, they should have won the game, but
and Max was on fire.
No, Max Crosby is one of my favorite guys. His motor, his energy is amazing.
That's why it's the only jersey I wear. It's all I wear, bro. I won't be able to come out and golf with you no matter what happens with our 2 teams this year until next summer. But I'm going to make out there, and we're going to golf again. I miss you, brother.
I know, I miss you
really
too.
And then we got Shaq coming out to where I'm at.
Yes, he wants to meet with you too.
State was playing App State.
They are.
I had no clue.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to flip everything around now.
You should go to the game. Shaq
I'm
will be up in the
going to
booth. He'll be up in the booth.
I haven't sang for the kids for a while. There's a couple of girls. Yeah, I still see that girl.
Yeah,
that we talked about last
Shacker's
time.
the new Beaver King, so he'll be whatever you need, he's got.
And he doesn't drink.
No.
I said, yeah, if you don't drink, you cannot roll with me at that seat. It's just not going to happen, man.
No, I don't.
You get thrown off the bus. I love the man, but yeah, it's work only. I got you, Shaq. No big deal. Be at the game, though, and if you're doing the game, I'm going to come down and say hi.
You got to. You got to say hi to Shaq, Raider Mike. You got to do it.
I hope you get into the booth.
There we go.
That would make my season.
I'd like to see Raider Mike with Mike Parker, by the way. That'd be a lot of fun. Where is it? It's in North Carolina, right?
Yes. Yes, boom.
Appalachian State. Shacker's going to Appalachian State. You ever been to North Carolina, Curtis?
I have not. I've been to the Charlotte airport temporarily. That's it.
And you just made your first trip to New York. How was that experience?
Love that. Yeah, I will definitely be going back there. I enjoyed that immensely.
Okay, what was your favorite part about the New York City trip?
Well, I hadn't seen any of those landmarks, so just getting a chance to see the Statue of Liberty in person. I went to a Mets game. I went to the 9/11 Memorial. I went to Top of the Rock. I just went to all the different sites that I'd never seen before, just hanging out in Times Square where I'd never been before. All these places that I'd seen in TV and on movies. It was just really fun to see them in person.
Have you been to New York, Burkhart?
Yep. It's a nice spot. I like New York. Central Park, all that. It's beautiful.
Dude, first time I went, I was like, oh, that's why people say this place is great. Because it is. It's awesome.
It's fantastic.
It was amazing. Like, we were driving to the hotel from the airport. It was me and Jason Quick, and he's just like, look out your window, Burke. And I look, and you see downtown, and I'm like, it goes forever.
It doesn't end.
Forever. I'm like, and then you start doing the math. I'm like, Central Park is like barely smaller than the same plot of land that downtown Portland fits in. And that's the park.
Yep.
Like, it's like everyone thinks like Empire State Building, World Trade Center, those are 5 miles apart. Like, like New York's wild.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I love it there. It's awesome. Wouldn't want to live there, but who cares?
Yeah.
Man? I'll visit all the time.
I had a great anytime I wanted.
And solo trips don't suck.
You were right. I could go anywhere I wanted, anytime I wanted.
And did you have to check with anyone?
Never.
Oh,
and
wow.
never had to check in with anyone.
It's not a bad life,
Nope.
I'm telling you. All right, big thanks to Trent Bray. Big thanks to Dame, who was super cool. We'll finish up Curtis and Chris when we come back. You got the Rip City Drive. And the Broncos suck, too, their offense. It's like, come on, Sean. I got an offensive genius as a head coach running my team, and they suck. 3-0 Bungles. It's a disaster.
Deep cut here.
Well, the Broncos have made it up to the time.
It.
Of all time.
It.
Answering machine. All right, Rip City Drive. Curtis Long, Chris Burkhardt here. And we just covered Trailblazer Media Day. All right, so I think the Blazers are going to get to 45 wins this year. Is that insane to utter such a phrase? I think they're going to get to 45 wins. I think their defense will be solid to start the year, and they're going to win games because they're getting stops. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think they're going to have to stay out of any kind of injuries, of course. So you're saying they stay intact.
Yeah, healthy.
Stay away from injuries.
Defense continues on the path that we saw in the second half of last year. I think this team can get to 45
Because we know
wins.
Scoot's out to start the year, probably through, November, December?
Yeah, hopefully. But, a lot of times a 4 to 8 week hamstring can become 8 to 12 weeks.
So if for any reason I'm knocking on, if Drew goes down, we're in trouble.
Yeah, I'm assuming health, of course,
Yeah.
because injuries can derail any team, obviously.
But I think 45 is reasonable. I would say mid-40s, 500.
What do you think, Burkhardt?
Yeah, I think that's definitely doable because I think they're going to win more games with that defense this year. I think you're going to see what they did at the end of last year carry over. If the offense decides to click as well, like they've talked about wanting to, I think they got a really good team. And I think that at the end of the year, I think play-in and getting into the playoffs is definitely going to be a goal within reach.
Yeah, that's one thing. That's part of the reason why I'm excited about this year is that their focus as a franchise is different. Like they're trying to win games. That's part of the reason why they brought in Drew Holiday. And come to think of it, now with the injury to Scoot, thank God they brought in Drew Holiday.
Yeah, really. Or it'd be Blake Wesley playing a lot of minutes now. The person they signed from San Antonio, who I thought would speak today at Media Day. We did not see Blake Wesley.
So what do you guys guess then on starting lineup? Is it going to be Drew and Denny along with Tamani, Grant, and Klingon? Is that the most likely starting lineup?
Yeah.
Even though Coach Billups informed us today that the players...
He doesn't make that decision. He's just the messenger.
He's the messenger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, here's what I saw on the floor. You guys dictated who's going to start. I'm giving you that message right now. But would that be your projected 5 based on what you learned today?
Yeah, Drew 2, Denny, JG, and DC. Yeah, and that's a defensive lineup, let me tell you what.
So you got Shaden coming off the bench. You likely have Blake Wesley playing pretty strong minutes here at the early part of the year. And Hansen coming off the bench.
I like the idea of Shaden being your sixth man.
Yeah.
Come in and provide that instant offense.
Playing against the other team's twos. Yeah. We'll see how that works out.
Yeah, I'm in on that. How many minutes would Hansen get? Are we looking at like 10 to 15 minutes a night? Or is it going to be more than that?
Well, Klingon says he can play 30. We'll see if he can play that many and stay out of foul trouble.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think if you can get
30 if he's not in foul trouble.
If he's not in foul trouble, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? That's a dream, and I'll take him saying that. At least he knows that that's something he needs to work on. But I think if you can get Hansen 10, 12 minutes, you're in a really good spot.
Yeah, that'd be great. And if you got Klingon out there for 30 minutes, the rim protection, the rebounding, obviously that's going to be great. My only concern about Klingon is just that continued adjustment of when teams go small and put him into space.
Yeah.
And kind of leave him in that no man's land.
Yeah. And he gets in foul trouble, and then I don't know when you'll have Rob Will ready to go, whether that's...
I just have to work off the assumption that he won't be available.
Yeah.
How many games? He's only played in a handful of games since he's been a Blazer.
Not many.
Do you think he's going to play? What's your expectation for him?
I am 100% with you. I mean, sometimes it's unfortunate, but he gets a little out of sight, out of mind because he's just not on the floor.
You think not going to play at all this season?
I don't know.
Oh.
I mean, he could play, but they could also...
Okay.
I would expect him to be I don't know what to expect
I'm
there.
thinking November for him. I think we'll see Rob Will in November. But the way things have gone, we'll see him for a week or so, and then he's off again.
Well, if Rob Will is available and is able to play, then that solves your center position.
Yeah.
Who starts if he's healthy? Klingon would start.
Klingon would still start.
And then you could divide up those backup minutes between Hansen and Rob Will. And then the good thing is about Rob Will is you wouldn't have to overplay him.
No, you wouldn't overplay him. Reith would seldomly play. And that's where you are at center.
Yeah, Reith you use as, matchup-based type guy.
We forget about Matisse, too, coming off the bench. Because he was a late addition last year. I mean, he was saying that it was disappointing when the season ended because he was just coming back into form as the season came to an end. So he said, selfishly, I was sorry to see the season come to an end.
I thought he played really well.
He was fantastic.
Yeah, defensively. He made shots. Yeah, he was great.
Comes in first game, gets that block to seal the game against Toronto. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, his instincts are pretty good. I think he's a good teammate to have around, too, and he's smart defensively.
He seemed very excited today about the season starting, genuinely excited to get going.
The one common guy that came up by multiple players that I spoke with today, they all had great things to say about Tamani in terms of his abilities on the floor, but more importantly, as a teammate. Everyone's a big fan of Tamani. Sharp, and he and Sharp are really close. Matisse, very complimentary to Tamani. Denny. I guess Tamani's kind of got the Midas touch with his teammates, which is cool.
New hairdo this year, too.
Matisse?
No, Kamara. Cut his hair on the sides, doesn't have the braids anymore on top.
Well, Tease has got a new do, too. No fro.
Yeah, he kind of shaved it down a little bit.
He did. He was rocking it. So, the vibes are good. They're immaculate right now.
Did I see Tamani? I didn't see Tamani today.
New do.
He's one of the few people I didn't get a chance to talk to. Well, there you have it. Yeah, Media Day was great. So first preseason game's coming up on October 8th. All of our videos from Media Day are up on our YouTube page. Go to youtube.com. Rip City Radio 620. Chris took care of that. And coming up next is the season debut of Courtside Monday. Burkhart, what you got in store for us on Courtside Monday, brother?
Oh, just a whole lot of recapping what went down today. Going to dive into how we felt and what we thought, the starting lineup, what we like about Young Hansen, and what we think is going to go down here, man. Because guess what? Media Day means Blazer season is here. It's my favorite time of year.
Love it. I love it. There's so many good things. All the sports are about to be in session all at the same time. We get that short little window in like November where NBA, NCAA, basketball and football, hockey, NFL, like everything all at the same time.
Baseball playoffs. Yeah, it's unreal at this time of year.
How about your Red Sox getting the Yankees in the little wild card in the AL?
I know. I tried talking a little trash to Travis, but he wasn't having it.
Yeah, I talked to him.
He's a legit Yankee homer. Oh, yeah, Cal Raleigh doesn't deserve the MVP. Get out of here. Only doing something we've never seen a catcher do before. Get out of here. I love Aaron Judge as a player, too, but come on.
I understand the argument for Judge. He is a better baseball player, and his numbers are better. But I'm telling you, if you got a catcher that hits 60, and he now joins Ruth, Maris, Judge, and he's like the fourth guy in the American League to ever do that, how can you not say he's in contention for that? I think he's going to win. How do you not vote for him? Who would you vote for? Would you go Cal Raleigh or Aaron Judge?
I would definitely go Cal Raleigh, but I think that's a little Northwest bias. Who knows on the East Coast what they're thinking, but for a switch-hitting catcher to hit that many home runs, and the Mariners are in the playoffs, how can you not vote for him?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
The big dumper.
Hey, thank you, guys. Curtis Long, thank you for hanging out with me. I know you don't do any work for the school district, so it's nice you can come in here and share your thoughts.
I got Media Day free. I'll go interview players for you.
Burkhart, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, coming up next, Chris Burkhart will have Courtside Monday from 6 until 7. I'll be back with the Rip City Drive tomorrow at 3. Enjoy your night, and if and don't watch the Bronco game. You don't want to watch crappy football. They have taken the lead 7-3. We'll see if that holds. Maybe they can lose another game at the buzzer to make it 3 straight. That'd be fun. Have a good night.
Broadcasting live from the Coors Light Studios, it's Courtside Monday with Chris Burkhardt, bringing you all of the latest news and stories from Rip City. Coors Light. Choose chill.
Famously, the lead singer of Metallica there, James Hetfield, once had to go to, some vocal training after the Black Album when he fried his vocal cords. And I only bring that up because that's where Burkhart's at today. We got Courtside Monday, season premiere, and the voice, the fifth quarter, right? This was back when I first got hired. Hadn't done a lot of the, in fifth quarter, right? This was back when I first got hired. Hadn't done a lot of the, in front of the mic on air stuff, right? We did Blazer game day, did the pregame. Chad was out on location. He comes in about a half hour later. Game just tipped off. He's like, Burkhardt, do you think you could host the fifth quarter? Because I have no voice. I have a feeling that might be me by the end of this show, but we're going to power through. That's what we do here. We have fun and we power through because you know what? It was a very important day today. That's why we're here. It was Trailblazers Media Day, 2025 edition, kind of a first look at this updated roster, getting an idea of how everyone's feeling, what we're looking like, what are things to look for as preseason action kicks off in a week. You got Fan Fest on the 4th, and then you have preseason games, and then boom, you hit the ground running. It's time for Blazer basketball, right? I'm excited, about as excited as I was on Saturday watching the Ducks get the win over Penn State. I felt pretty good about that, right? But I'm excited because, man, Blazer basketball is awesome. And I've talked to Chad about this quite a bit after we had the Damian Lillard rally and all that, but the vibes are good. Like, you saw the 1,000+ people there at Pioneer Courthouse Square to welcome Dame back. You've seen reactions on social media. I feel like it's a good day to be a Blazer, right? Things are feeling good. And so right now you got a situation where, you are happy, you're excited, and now Blazer season's about to start. And there's things that I really liked about what we heard today. There's some things that made us, raise our eyebrows just a little bit. But all in all, it's just a media day. It is what it is. You get through it, and you get your canned answers. You have a little bit of fun. Young Hansen makes the entire world laugh because that's what he does, right? I mean, what's not to like right now, right? Speaking of Young Hansen, the Trailblazers rookie that they drafted, remember, they threw everybody off when they drafted him. Nobody saw that coming. Whoa, that's a weird pick. Maybe they went too high on that because he was projected to be a second rounder, I don't think so. Because if you listen to players talk today, everybody is excited about Young Hansen on that roster right now. Every single person had something good to say about him. Everyone is excited to see him play. Robert Williams talked about it, and he was just like, yeah, his IQ, his knowledge, like the way he picks up things, he's just different. Right? And so it's exciting to see how that fits in with Donovan Clingan, with Robert Williams. Got to remember, you got Dwap Reith in that rotation too. But I mean, when you sit there and you have a center in Robert Williams, a guy who's going to be battling for minutes with Young Hansen, sit there and just praise the man, I think you got something good, right? I think you got something good. And I did like Young Hansen he was talking about, learning English. He wants to learn and get better at it as quick as possible so that he can talk to his teammates. But he said something about how he was always smiling because you don't want to hit a guy who's smiling. So he always smiled at his teammates no matter what they said. Just keep smiling. You don't want to hit a guy who's smiling. Everyone cracked up because it was funny. And the thing was, like, There was a couple of times during his presser, everyone cracked up. And that was something everyone talked about too. Like, oh, his humor, man. He's just a funny guy. The vibes are good. Man, Chad asked me on the Rip City Drive earlier, like, what's your takeaway? I'm like, I left media day more excited than ever to watch young Hansen play. Like, that's definitely excited to watch him play. I think they're gonna find a way to get in there. They're gonna find a way to get him acclimated, get him learning the language, and find a way for him to impact the game. I thought it was interesting. Joe Cronin was asked about, like, do you see a situation where you put him down, on the bluff down there at UP, put him with the Rip City remix, get some run? And Joe was basically like, if he's not getting enough minutes with the Blazers, maybe because we want him to get action, but we want him to impact the Blazers first. Like, it is very clear that that's what the team wants. They want him to impact the Trailblazers. I think that's huge. How that fits in again with Donovan Clingan and Robert Williams. Well, that will all remain to be seen, right? But I think it's exciting right now. Outside of young Hansen, I mean, he had Scoot Henderson, who he was in good spirits, but I think you could tell he was a little bit bummed. I mean, you have a good offseason, then you get a freak injury to the hamstring, and now you're out for 4 to 8 weeks. And like Joe Cronin said, some people said it could be as quick as the 4. Some people said it could take 10 or more. Like, you got to play this one close and safe and just make sure that he can return healthy. That's what matters the most, right? You don't want to have any setbacks. You got to be real careful with the hamstring in general. And so hopefully he can get through, because by all accounts, he was having a good offseason. He was poised to, fight for a starting role. Now that's not going to happen. Now you're more of your question is like, who is your backup ball handler, right? Because obviously you don't have Dame. He's not going to play this year. You were hoping you're having your tandem be Scoot and Drew, who was your starter, who was your bench guy, and that was all up for debate, right? A lot of people said, it was going to be Drew no matter what. Some people was thinking it was going to be Scoot. I was kind of leaning Scoot, maybe selfishly, just because I wanted it to happen, right? But you kind of knew what your 1-2 was. Now you don't have a 2. You just got Drew. So who's going to fill in, be that guy, see the ball more in Denny Avdia's hands, right? Maybe you get young Hansen in there. He can run the offense a little bit. So there's a lot of questions there with Scoot out. But, again, he was in good spirits. I'm looking forward to the season. And then, of course, you had Dame. Like I can't even put into words, like, what it felt like to have Dame rocking the pinwheel again, sitting in media day, smile on his face, repping Portland, right? Some things just feel right. That just felt right. It just felt right. And, he's going to be a mentor there. It's funny because Coach Billups said, I haven't given Dame his role and responsibilities like the rest of my coaches yet. Joking because, he's going to have the highest paid assistant coach in the league because Dame's not going to play this year. But it was just exciting to see him there and know that he's going to help this team, lead this team. And the best part about it, too, is Dame is like 100% focused on what he can do moving forward and returning back to the Dame that we know and love. He does not want to return to the court as a shell of his former self. I think that's pretty clear, right? I mean, he was even asked point blank by Bill Orr, like, do you see any situation where you could be back on the court this year? The season ends. They're the number 1 seed, and the playoff run is right there. And you're like, yeah, I'm ready to go. And Dame's like, nope, nah. Like, if they're the number 1 seed, they're probably pretty good without me at that point. I don't want to go ruin it. Like, if being the number 1 seed in the playoffs ain't going to get you to rush it, nothing will. And that's good. That's good, because like Dame said that the biggest point of advice that he got from his doc was, don't rush it. Do not rush it. Let this thing heal. Too many people have had this type of injury and just tried to get back on the court as fast as possible. He said, don't try to set no world record. Don't try to be the guy like, oh, man, Damian Lillard got back on the court faster than any player ever to have this injury. Don't be that guy. Take your time. Take your time. Let it heal, right? Of course, it's gonna suck. Watching the game from the bench is not in Dame's nature, but it's the best for him to see a couple extra years of Damian Lillard, right? Worst case scenario, rush it back, hurt yourself, boom. You don't want to do that. Not at all. but you take your time. You're ready to go. You stay healthy. Guess what? Next year, media day, we're talking about maybe Dame being the starter or whatnot. Like, vibes are good. Vibes are good. I like that. Regardless of where he plays, how he plays, any of that. Dame in a Blazer uniform and media day just felt right. Just felt right. Now, I think outside of Young Hansen and some of the other things, I also thought a big takeaway was Jeremy Grant. Asked point blank about, it's been years since you came off the bench. You've been a starter now 5-6 years in this league. Has it crossed your mind about, if that could be a role you play here? And he was just like straight up, nah, I don't expect that. Like, he does not expect to be coming off the bench. He fully expects to be the starter. So then what's your starting lineup going into the season opener? Are you looking at probably a Drew, Tumani, Denny, Jeremy, DC? That's going to relegate Shaden Sharp to the bench. But the crazy part is, you look at how the season went down last year. Denny Avdia played himself into a spot where you can't put him anywhere but the starting lineup. He was your best player probably all year long. Who was your second best player? Tumani Kamara, right? They were your two best players. They earned those spots. So they got to get in there. Now, you saw situations throughout the year last year where Tumani Kamara played the two. That legit might be your starting lineup on opening night. Drew, 2, Denny, Grant, and DC. That's interesting. Tell you what, that's a defensive lineup it's gonna give some teams some fits. That's for sure. It's gonna make teams work. It's gonna make the offense hopefully find ways to score, right? The other side. But then you're gonna have to find ways to score yourself. That's where, Shaden Sharp comes in off the bench as a good scorer. That's where Young Hansen comes in as a facilitator. Oh, and we talk about how good the starting lineup will be defensively, and we don't even mention the fact that he's still got Matisse Thybulle coming off the bench. Like, this team's going to be good on that side of the ball. But it was telling because Coach Billups talked about how this defense has been the calling card. That's what they've hung their hat on. That's what they've been known for. But their offense hasn't been good enough to hang their hat on that, and it needs to be. So the coaching hires with St. Andrews and Splitter, like, those were offensive guys. And now we need to focus on making our offense good, right? You put that together with what they're doing defense, figure that out. Right now, they're undefeated. Figure that out. Right now, they're undefeated. They got practice tomorrow and immediate availability and then preseason games, and then they hit the ground running. I'll tell you what, I'm excited. Absolutely excited. Not excited for the fact that, I still got half hour here at least of talking with this voice. We're plugging through. Shacker's in there laughing. MVP comes in, brings me my water, all quiet so he doesn't get picked up on the mic. But we need it. We need it because it's about to go. It's going down, but we're having fun, man. It's just, all out effort all the time. And I think that's what we're going to expect from our Blazers. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll listen to a few of those Blazers, hear what they had to say here at Media Day. And if you want to join the conversation, 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. And, of course, you go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, and join the conversation there. Chris Burkhardt here, season premiere of Courtside Monday here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.
Now back to Courtside with Chris Burkhardt, live from the Coors Light Studios. Coors Light, mountain cold refreshment. Choose chill.
Welcome back into Courtside Monday. I was a little worried for that intro. I was like, is the voice going to be there? I was a second ago, like Shacker asked me a question, like I hit the button to just talk to him during the commercial, and like nothing, no sounds came out of my voice. This is the first time this has happened. I think it's kind of funny. I'm just gonna keep laughing at it, and my kids are gonna love it. It's like, hey, Mom, Dad can't yell at us anymore. Yep, that's right. Can't get in trouble if Dad can't say anything to you. But welcome back into Courtside Monday. Chris Burkhardt here with you. We're talking Blazers. This big day, Trailblazers Media Day. You know, basically the unofficial official start of the season, right? As now they get to the official get to camp. Going to have some practices this week. Then they're going to have Fan Fest next weekend, and then boom, they're into preseason games in the regular season, right? So it is here, and I think it's going to be a big year, a very big year. Like Joe Cronin talked about, like, you know, they think they can be a playoff team. They think they can, you know, make it to the play-in. But if that doesn't happen, they're not going to be upset because they're still focusing on a lot of things that are in the big picture, right? But I think this is definitely the type of year that they can make noise. I absolutely think they can. I'm looking at the potential of a lineup, you know, starting out, you know, Drew, too, like I said, Denny, Jeremy, and DC, and that is a defensive lineup. And that is what this team has, like I said, hung their hat on, is defense, right? And everyone who says, oh, you can't do that. You can't have Shea on the bench over Jeremy Grant. My argument for, okay, and to be clear, like I'm with all of you, like I want Shaedon Sharpe to be a stud, right? I have said many times that I believe that this team has taken the next step forward. Like when he is the star, they want him to be the guy. But he still needs to be a little bit more assertive on the defensive end, right? And that is what Coach Billups has definitely coached this team to be, a defensive first team. And again, you got Drew Holiday, massively talented defensive guard. Toumani Camara, massively talented defensive player. Jeremy Grant, better on the defensive side than Shaedon Sharpe is. And last year, there was times in games he was one of your best on-ball defenders, right? So that does mean something there. And again, I'm not giving you the whole like, oh, he has to, he's our best player, whatnot. I just can understand where they would lean that way just a little bit. I think if Shea continues to learn and gets better defensively, then it's lights out, and he's going to earn that spot. And I'm not upset by that, because if he goes out there and is not the starter on day one, but he earns the right to get in that thing, get in that lineup, be the starter, be a stud, I'm okay. I'm excited. But at the same time, you know, that's just part of the game. But also focus on that offense too. Guess what? It's going to be hard to keep you out of the lineup. Even maybe no matter what you do, you aren't the best defender. It's going to be hard to keep you out the floor if you're scoring 30 points a night. You know what I mean? I want to see Shea just go out there, grab the bull by the horns, because I want him to be great. I'm with all of you guys. I get it. I get it. You know, we want him in the lineup. You need him. You can't have a situation where he's not. Now, like I said, I can understand why they would want to start Jeremy Grant, but I want Shea to just grab the ball and just run, man. Just go. Have some fun with it. Now, defensively, though, is, again, where this team has built their brand. And they've got better last year. You saw towards the end of the year where they were absolutely phenomenal on that side. And, you know, Drew Holiday is a big part of that. Now, They go out and get him, and he is, like I said, he's an all-world defender. That guy is as talented as they come. We've seen it before. We saw firsthand, right? Pelicans taking on the Blazers in the playoffs. Drew Holiday locking down Dame. He is phenomenal. And now they got him in that locker room. And I thought it was really great to take a chance and hear from him today, because remember when he was traded here? Oh, that he's, reports out of Boston. He is.
Weren't many options.
Number.
Weren't many options. There's really no tie to the number 5 for me. So.
Drew, when the trade was first agreed to, there were some draft picks in the trade that ended up getting taken out when it was finalized, and they said we heard that it was because of medical stuff. Are you all good medically, physically?
Oh yeah, I'm great. I'm good to go. Yeah.
Did you have a sense at the end of last year that things were going to change in Boston and that you might be in this situation where you're on another team?
Definitely had a sense, just new management, contract situation, money situation. I think everybody kind of knew that there's going to be some changes. And once those changes came, they made it known to us that things possibly could happen. So it was known.
I'm sure you probably weren't surprised when you were traded, but how surprised were you when you found out you were traded here?
Yeah, I was actually really excited because of the relationship that I just built from the first time I was traded with Chauncey and Joe. Them being so great to me and gracious, sending me to a spot where I got a chance to win, and them circling back and coming to get me is kind of full circle.
What did you spent a lot of time out in LA this summer with Scoot? There was some of that on YouTube that a lot of people have seen. What did you see from him, and kind of what are your impressions of him kind of working with him on a pretty consistent basis?
I love his work ethic. He is a gym rat. That's one of the biggest things I think for me, because I was the same way. I'm a little older now, but I think just to see him in the gym, dedicated to his craft, learning new things, asking me questions, asking CJ questions that we work out with. But not only that, you see him in open runs, you see him working out, waking up at 5. You can see the dedication to him getting better, and that's something that I love. And then just getting to know him as a person. He's hilarious. He's funny, obviously a bit younger than me, so getting the chance to get to know him on that level has been cool.
Drew, what are your thoughts about what this team could do from a defensive perspective? Obviously, you're a fantastic offensive player. I think the roster, they've been trying to address that part of the ball more. Can you just speak what you've seen so far of this team and where you guys might be able to go defensively?
Yeah, defensively, I think we'll have a good chance of being really, really good. You've already seen last year in 2. You've seen it in a lot of these guys. We got Jeremy, we got Scoot, we got guys that can pick up full court, we got guys that can play 1 through 5. We got rim protection and Hanson and Rob and DC. So I think defensively we're going to be really, really good, very athletic, be able to switch at times, do different type of things that can throw some teams off. But the athleticism and the defensive mindedness is there.
Drew, the first time in many years recently, the first time the team actually brought a player who had a championship experience. What are the things that you're trying to bring to this team, and what were your expectation of the team at overall success when you're seeing all those young talents here?
Yeah, I just think I try to bring that mentality of coming in and working every day. I do think that it is consistency. I feel like it's obviously very, very hard to win a championship, but and winning's hard in this league, especially here in the Western Conference. So to bring some consistency, I think, is very, very important. And then my expectation is to win games, to see what that's like. Obviously, I know when you have seasons of not doing so well, it can sometimes get discouraging, but we want to stay positive. We want to be very, very encouraging and win games.
And there you hear from Drew Holiday. And again, defense was kind of the talking point, right? We got 2. We even mentioned Scoot. Like, we got guys who play defense. We got great rim protection from DC, which, funny enough, he went on to say that DC blocked him once in their pickups, and he told them, hey, don't do that again, and he hasn't done it since, which is just kind of funny. Because then DC was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's pump faked and then passed out a few times. He's basically afraid of me, which is just, I love the banter already. But again, A, that doesn't sound like a guy who's mad he's in Portland. I'll tell you that much. And B, it's a guy who's an all-world defender, and I think this team specifically is going to be able to feed off of that, right? It's not like in Milwaukee, it's not like in Boston where it's just this massive vet-laden team, and he's just a piece of that. Like, this is a young team, as everyone talked about today, and this is a guy who's going to go be arguably one of the best defenders on it, and a guy that, Tumani Kamara looks at and wants to learn from, a guy that Scoot looks at and wants to learn from, right? That's what you get here. And I'm excited for that. I'm excited for that. And of course, talked about Scoot Henderson and runs with him and how he asks questions and wants to learn. Like, I like what we're doing. I like what we're doing. And, man, I'm just excited, man. I'm excited for basketball. We get to watch it. I'm excited to see what Drew looks like. Of course, there was some banter there. He wanted to be number 11 and said it wasn't made available. Why? Why wasn't it made available? As Curtis Long pointed out, is there speculation here? Are we going to have a Arvydas Sabonis retirement? Did he do enough to earn the retirement? I say, yeah, everyone loves that man. It'd be absolutely funny. Get Sabas's number 11 up there. Hanging in the rafters, baby. Hanging in the rafters. This is Courtside Monday. Chris Burkhardt here with you. If you want to, you can follow me on social. Chris J. Burkhardt's the name. You can also jump on YouTube, type in Rip City Radio, and get in on the chat there as well. And, of course, the number doesn't change, 503-248-0620. Shout out to T-Baby, my daughter at home, watching the show. She's like, oh, look, Dad's on the TV. Hi, T. I'll be home in a bit. And, yeah, I'll tell you all about it. I'm going to get you up to speed on what happened at Media Day. And you know what? We're not watching Mickey Mouse Clubhouse to go to bed tonight. We're watching Trailblazers Media Day interviews. I need my that's what we should really be teaching our children, not Mickey and Pluto and Minnie. She needs to be able to look at the TV screen and go, Dame, Tumani, DC. That's what we need. That's what we need to teach her. We're gonna take her to class today. We're gonna take her to class. Now, Drew Holiday likely again to be the starting guard going into the season now, especially with Scoot out. A lot of people thought he'd probably be the starter regardless. Things are going to get real interesting as you go into next year and beyond when Dame's healthy and all that. And so with him and no Scoot to back him up, it's like, who's going to be the next guy in line, the next ball handler, right? Well, if last year was any indication, it's going to be Denny Avdia. And I want to take a chance to let you all hear what he had to say at Media Day.
Hello, everyone.
Denny, over here, anything you felt like you took away or added to your game from your Eurobasket experience?
I feel like I've been in stressful situations, kind of like win or go home type of tournament. So I feel like performing under pressure, taking care of the ball, and just creating off the dribble, going left. So, yeah, that's about it.
Going left, a new thing?
Not a new thing. I try to do it more, though.
What excites you most about this team?
Defensively. Definitely how versatile we are defensively. Wait, who asked that question? Okay, I couldn't see. Sorry. Defensively, how competitive we can be, how young, athletic, fast we are. I think our game style is going to be very fun to watch. And, yeah, we have good competitors with good mix of vets, and I'm really excited with this team.
Could you elaborate on the defense? What do you like about the makeup of the defense that you guys can bring?
Just the versatility, as I said, being able to switch multiple positions, being able to have big bodies on the floor, rebounding, crash into offensive glass. Just, I think it's just a big part of what we're going to do, and it's going to give teams a lot of trouble.
And what do you see as your role on this team?
My role in this team is continue where I kind of left off, being vocal with everyone, be a leader, help everybody be in the best positions possible, and maximize
the team potential. Just compete, do what I do, be aggressive, set the tone defensively, offensively. That's about it.
Oh, sorry. Denny, that second half of the season, you kind of had the big outbreak, and Joe mentioned that he wants to empower you further, almost kind of push you beyond what you can do. When you look at that, what are the things that you're kind of looking at expanding on and the responsibilities you can possibly take on beyond what you've already shown?
So I'm going to say that I got still a lot of things to work on and add to my game. I don't think I'm a finished product yet. I do want to add a lot of stuff to my game, but I'm doing it with a lot of patience. I'm not rushing. I'm always trying to make the right play, whether it's defensively, offensively. But I think the next step for me is take care of the ball a little bit better, control the game a little bit better, slow down sometimes when I need to. And other than that, I think I'm in a good path.
Denny. And there you hear from Denny, right? He talked about the defense, talked about all those things, which I love, which I absolutely love. And if he can be better on that end, it's great. And he went on to talk about it. Like, he's not a complete player. He's not a complete player. He still has things to learn, and that's good. That's going to be real good. All right, we're going to take a break here. That gives me just a little extra time, because when we come back, I can't do a Courtside Monday and not play some Dame audio, man. We got Dame back. How bleeping cool is that? Like, part of me just wants to just hit the dump button and just let it out, because, like, I'm excited. The greatest player to ever play for the franchise by some accounts. Clyde and Bill get in the combo. But he, by far, one of the most impactful players in NBA history when it comes to being a Portland Trailblazer. It's so cool to have him back. We're going to hear from him when we return here on Courtside Monday on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.
Now back to Courtside with Chris Burkhardt, live from the Coors Light Studios. Coors Light, mountain cold refreshment. Choose chill.
Welcome back into Courtside Monday. Chris Burkhardt season is getting underway now. Just around the corner, we'll be watching Season is getting underway now. Just around the corner, we'll be watching Blazer action. And although he won't be on the court, it is still absolutely incredible to have Damian Lillard back repping Rip City, something that we know is very important to him. So let's take a second to hear what he had to say today. Sometimes, again, there was a couple years there, he was at the Milwaukee Media Day instead, but he's back, and it's like he never skipped a beat.
Questions?
What's this like?
I was just telling him it was a little weird, but not weird at all at the same time. So that's the best way to describe it.
Where are you at health-wise? Like, where are you on, I know it's a long path, but kind of what are you able to do and where are you on the path?
Right now, I can do a lot of stuff. I've been running, I've been shooting. I think it's at the stage where I can do a lot, but it's tricky because you can, with this injury, what I've learned is you get to a point where you can, do a lot of these things, but the tendon is not, strong enough to stand up to it like it normally would be able to, like doing basketball activities. So it's a long period of like being stuck right here where you don't want to get carried away with what you think you could be doing because it feels good doing a lot of that stuff. You just got to kind of stay in the moment. So right now, that's just where it's at. I'm able to do a lot more activity, but still, building the strength up and, getting that tendon back to taking its normal shape.
I know you're taking this year, but is there any scenario that you could foresee, any scenario in the entire world, one seed going into the playoffs, anything where you would say, screw it, I'm playing?
I don't plan on it. I feel like if the team's a one seed going into the playoffs, then they probably got it. So I just want to be as healthy as I can possibly be and be 100%. Confident in it and, be able to do all of the movements and everything that it takes to be on the NBA court and, test out of everything that I need to test out of to make sure that I'm ready to go. And at that point, whenever that point is, obviously I'll have a decision to make.
What are you going to do during training camp? Like, are you going to be there, like, what's your role at training camp for this team?
I'll be there early in the morning to get my stuff done. That's not team stuff like my rehab and to try to get my training in, just so that I can get that out the way and then still be there or be able to watch and go through all the stuff that the team is going through so I can know the offense, I can know the defensive principles, I can just hear the language and everything that's being spoken over the team. And like Chauncey said, I guess I'm going to be like another assistant coach. But whatever I can be to the team at this point, that's what I'll be. But I'll definitely be there. I'll be around.
What's been the most difficult part of this process for you?
I would say, even when I've had injuries, when things have come up, I've always been able to do something about it. And I think this is the first time that it's an injury that you can come back from, but you can't do anything about it. You gotta let it take the time that it takes.
Dame, I know there's not much players usually have to say or can say about ownership, but I feel like this is a little bit of a different situation because you've been here for such a long time and you've been such a face of the organization. Have you had any kind of interactions with Tom, the incoming owner, or do you kind of have any thoughts on just the ownership change and just that part of the franchise right now?
I think it's been something that has been a discussion for some time, so I think everybody knew that it was to come at some point. I haven't had much interaction at all, but I'm sure there will be, and when it does, I'm sure I'll learn whatever I need to learn. But at this point, I've just been focused on getting reconnected and trying to get healthy.
Have you reached out to anybody who's had this injury in the past? Obviously, you saw it with Wes and all that, but just to the road ahead, and if they've given you any advice about what's ahead?
Yeah, I spoke to KD. I spoke to Rudy Gay, DeJounte Murray. Who else? Wes. Me and Wes talked about it every day. Wes came and worked my camp in Arizona this summer, so every day we talked about it and went over stuff. My PT that I've used this whole time has done 40 or 50 Achilles repairs, so he's pretty comfortable with it, and he knows his stuff. So I've learned a lot. What not to do when things worked out best, and also I've every couple of weeks I've been going and seeing my surgeon to make sure everything is right and what the next step should be. So that's really been it. It's just making sure I'm listening and speaking to those people who've experienced it and people who, like my surgeon who've done these repairs over and over, and my PT who's been involved in a lot of these rehab processes as well. So that's really been it.
Consistent message that they've given you, like patience or something like that,
I would say the most consistent has just been that, don't try to be the guy that does it in record time, because it takes what it takes, and usually when people return to form is because they took the proper amount of time, and they didn't fall for the, I feel good, I can do it, when a lot of times you feel good and, it's still a few layers to the injury that, you got to work through. And that's, getting that force and being able to do a lot of the things that, you can only know if it's working or not on a basketball court, and then to run those types of tests and know that it's all the way right, and that usually takes a little bit longer. So I would say that's one thing they all said that they all had in common.
Dave, you had mentioned at the rally about Scoot and being part of his journey and what the way you feel like he can grow, and obviously he's going to be out for a while. Have you thought about kind of maybe being with him or spending time with him as you guys are both rehabilitating, since you're both kind of won't be able to do on-court stuff for a while?
Yeah, I mean, neither one of us gonna be on the court for a little bit, so it'll definitely create that window of opportunity for us to have a lot more dialogue during that time. Even if he was on the court, I'm gonna still be around, and it's breaks and stuff like that, and different guys getting reps, and he's on the side where I would, definitely be able to have some type of conversation or put stuff in his ear. But now this puts it, even more of an opportunity where we're going to be around each other, doing this. I'm rehabbing, and he's going to be rehabbing and trying to get back to full health. But I'm not going to be like all in his ear, like I just know everything. But, it's a lot that I can share with him from experience. And as a young point guard, I know the desire. I've been there to, want more for yourself and want to grow, want to prove yourself. I've been through that process. I've been through the struggles. I've been through the high moments. When you want to jump out there and you want to show what you can do. I've been through all of those things. I know what it's like off the floor when you got, people saying what you need to do and what's expected. And I know that I could, help take some of that weight off his shoulders by just sharing information that I know is a fact. And it'll be a lot of opportunity to do that now.
Gosh, it's just good to hear his voice, ain't it? Welcome back, Dame. All right, that's going to do it for Courtside Monday. But guess what? We got Blazer content. The Insider podcast with Sean Hyken dropped on our YouTube page. He'll have a show this around, and preseason games just around the corner. Season premiere around, and preseason games just around the corner. Season premiere of Courtside Monday in the books. The voice starting to heal up. I'll be back with you next Monday. We'll do it all again. Got to put a bow on this one. 2025, 2026 season. Rip City, as always. I love you.